Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of Tabooh's Tidbits. I'm your host, DJ Tabooh, and today we'll be doing a 2021 NFL mock draft, first round only, alternating picks, 1 to 32. Joining us today, very special guest, we have a gentleman and a scholar, 2013 graduate of the University of Tennessee.
Rocky Top.
Yes, sir. Public address announcer for the basketball tournament featuring former college and pro basketball players. Currently the trivia host at World of Beer in Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
In Exton, Pennsylvania. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Victory Brewing Company is in Downingtown. Host trivia there. Shout out to my friends at Victory. Sorry about that. And then World of Beer is in Exton, Pennsylvania. Chester County. What up?
Shout out to Exton. Chester,
yeah,
we out here.
Shout out to Exton. Yeah.
Yes.
Chester County, Pennsylvania. Huge in the 2020 presidential election. Kind of swung everything.
Yep, absolutely.
Different combo for a different podcast.
Absolutely. A sports savant, an avid lover of all good things music, was in his first rap battle a few months ago. My good buddy from Tennessee, Chris Del Sordo. What's good, bro? How you doing, man?
Terrence, I missed you so much. I'm doing great, bro. And I feel like this is now the world's kind of back to normal again. I feel like this is the second most requested DJ Tabooh CEO collab because the mock draft will be the second collab, but then we'll have to go back and get into the lab and give them another type of collab.
Absolutely.
So really, I think the creative juices, all this is just an exercise to get.
Oh yeah, this is just a little preview. This is a little taste.
This is a mental warm up before the Grammy session happens a little bit later on tonight.
Absolutely.
That's why Terrence moved to Austin. Was for music clout, and he didn't tell anybody about that. But that's really what it is. We're two Mid-Atlantic kids that were trying to get the roots down south. And
absolutely,
he did it right.
Yes, sir. For y'all who don't know me, my name is Terrence Boone. I am from a beautiful town called Severna Park, Maryland, right outside of Annapolis, home to Pat Sajak, Mark Teixeira, and many others. Steve Bisciotti, owner of the Ravens. Shout out to Severna Park. What up, guys? What up,
Under Armour? Shout out Under Armour.
Absolutely. A little bit dicey right now, but definitely Kevin Plight. Let's get it back to go. Let's get it back together. Let's get back together for sure. So, like I said, folks, today we're going to be filming the first round of the NFL draft. Drafts on Thursday, April 29th. Tune on in. We'll be going pick after pick. I'll have the odds. Chris will have the evens. And, I got my Cincinnati Bengals on the clock at number 5. Chris has his Eagles on the clock at number 12. There you go. Go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly. Yes, sir.
It's a tough task that I have in front of me today.
You do. And you also have your favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, you're picking for as well at number 10. So
I do. And and let the world know, I'm not built like that. Okay. I don't have anything good really to say. Like Stephen Jones is all right. I don't have anything good to say about the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm not built like that. We're professionals here.
Absolutely.
And I'll take the opportunity to say things about the Jones family, but I'll pick them.
Pick and choose wisely.
Yeah. Look, they're not going to win. They're not going to win a Lombardi trophy anyway. So I'm going to do the best I can over here, but it ain't going to work itself out. Shout out to Rain. I'm not going to call him Dak. That's weird. But Rain, good dude. I like him. And it's tough that he plays on the Cowboys and that I have to kind of do that dance. I do want to say that right now. Not a hater. Yeah.
And shout out to Dak for getting the bag. He finally got paid.
Secured it.
Secured the bag.
I think that goes to show you, man, like if you look at Alex Smith, right? If your lower leg goes a direction it's not supposed to, you're getting money. they will give
Chris
you the chance to
last
get
night
that money
on UFC. Yes. Oh my gosh, bro.
Anderson Silva got 3 more years of his career because he broke his leg in a fight.
To the same guy who broke his leg last night. How crazy is that, dude?
Full circle.
Full circle, totally.
It's God forbid you put somebody in an octagon, you make them beat each other up, and that's what's going to happen. And that's what we're doing here. Figure it out kind of like you throw these guys into an octagon together, and who do you really think is going to come out on top? I don't like the football cliches sometimes, but this is sort of one of those times. Like you probably whittling it down to 2 guys and then throw them in the octagon, throw them in the blender and pick your guy. So
production versus potential. Got a lot of guys that kind of fit that mold in this draft. And a lot of spots, offensive tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker will be a big topic to talk about when we get into the Micah Parsons, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah discussions, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So With that being said, folks,
what is a mic? What is a mic in the NFL anymore anyway? Because it's
Luke
just like
Kuechly, Bobby Widener.
yeah, and I mean, they just grow on trees, don't they?
Right,
Like
absolutely.
just trying to find that. Once again, maybe a conversation for further down in the draft, but it's just like I don't think we gave ourselves reasonable expectations to model the mic position around like Patrick Willis. You don't get Patrick Willis like 1 out of every 30 years, and we're just trying to find like, oh, he'll be like, nah, dude, they don't exist. They ain't like that. And I hate to say it, spoiler alert, I don't think those two guys are Patrick Willis either. But
no. Well, no, JOK he's a base 4-3 outside linebacker, right? Nickel Sam. So we'll get to him for sure. Because I'm actually higher on him than maybe you are, but we'll see how this draft goes. So 1 to 32 guys. We're going to get started right now. On the clock with the first pick in the 2021 NFL draft is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And before we get going, here's what I'm going to do. All right, folks. With the first pick in the 2021 NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars will select my boy, quarterback Trevor Lawrence from Clemson University. Go Tigers. Duval. Yes, sir. Here we go. Come on down, Trevor. Pretty standard, right? He's been QB1, player 1 for a long time. I mean, Mel Kiper has him right behind Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, John Elway in his QB evaluations. How do you feel about Trevor? What's your overall take on him?
So he's not there for me yet. When I watched Trevor Lawrence play at Clemson, clearly it's that shining example of like, yeah, this is the best car in the garage. This is right. This guy is going to. He's not gonna ever roll out of bed, show up at a football field, and just give you a 10 of 30 night. He's gonna go out there and just do what he's supposed to, game in and game out. There was a weird kind of year and a half of Trevor Lawrence's career where he wasn't playing effective football. They were winning games by a lot, just kind of off of that ACC strength of schedule. And I think that kind of really that he wasn't playing good football when they lost to LSU in that national championship game. Now, this past 2020 season, he's shown a lot. He clearly is a prototypical, even to his really good scrambler, like really sneaky, effective at actually moving the ball with his legs. So yeah, I love the guy. I think he's perfect. I think he's exactly the type of guy that teammates do gravitate towards and give their all for. I just don't think he's going to be as good as Andrew Luck was Andrew Luck's rookie year. You know what I mean?
Right. And Andrew had a really good line around him that had at the end of his career, but obviously in the beginning, the O-line failed him in Indianapolis, right?
That's why he had T.Y.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he got beaten up, so he had to retire too early, unfortunately. But with Trevor, 6'6", about 225, 230, strong frame, kind of skinny, but can make all the throws. He's been billed as the best player for the last couple years. After the Bama game when they won the national championship, he's been the it guy. So
and that was what? That was freshman year.
That was 2019. Yep, 2018. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of forgive. Nobody had a bigger microscope on them than Trevor
Nobody.
Probably that's why I'm saying the things that I'm saying about Trevor Lawrence. There's no technical criticism. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, if you look at his throws on out routes from 15 to 20 yards. No, there's none of that. Like, he does everything great. I probably have just been paying more attention to Trevor Lawrence than anybody else, so that I do sort of feel that way. But that dude hasn't not once left anyone disappointed. And
not at all.
That's why you make the no questions asked, sign that contract 2 months before the draft. You and your wife go and buy a nice house in Jacksonville Beach and St. Augustine or Ponte Vedra Beach.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, get comfortable, Trevor, because like, who else would it be? I really think and this will get into like me making this next pick. You can't pick Zach Wilson there if you're Jacksonville. You could, but the questions then it would lead to, instead of why you hired Urban Meyer in the first place.
Urban didn't come back to coach Zach. You
got that ship turned around already. You lucked into getting James Robinson. You have an amazing core of wideouts. Like, let's go.
Chark, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, let's go. Laviska Shenault Jr., Keelan Cole. Let's get that. We got the horses in the stable. He's the jockey that can get you across the finish line. You need maybe 3 years of losing races with Zach Wilson to get there. So I love that pick. I don't think there's any other way to go.
Fair enough. Okay. Clemson hat off for now. Chris, you are up next, good sir. You have the New York Jets. What are they going to do?
Now, considering what I just said about Zach Wilson, I still think that the proper and only choice to make in this spot, which is what the pick that we're going to see happen, because you don't trade away Sam Darnold, with the second pick of the 2021 NFL draft. The New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU. And I am very excited about the prospect of Zach Wilson being this entertaining, swaggy, chip on his shoulder quarterback that we get to watch every week. He reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield. That's what, when I see wanting to run around, eyes always downfield, such a live arm for a smaller frame. And like, it's not just charisma. I mean, the dude is cocky. The dude is a cocky kid, and it put him in a spot personality-wise. Like, you don't hang out with the big kind of like swinging blank, I'm running the locker room type of personalities in Provo, Utah. And this mofo, Zach Wilson, all 6'1" Ken Barbie doll looking guy, is just going right in and grabbing these 400-pound Samoan dudes and whipping them into shape. It's the wildest thing ever. I kind of understand why those guys might not have liked Zach Wilson enough to give him the captain role, but that's what the Jets need. So I want to say this story real quick. I was watching the BYU. It wasn't the Coastal Carolina game. It was a different BYU game earlier this year.
San Diego State, maybe?
Well, I know it wasn't because he beat Tennessee 2 years ago, and this story wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
But there was a story about how his roommate Milne and then the other wideout, they were all roommates together, and how Zach Wilson was just insufferable about the fact that those two wouldn't make their beds. And I'm sitting there like, what 21-year-old would consider themselves friends with another 21-year-old that's holding them to whether or not they make their bed?
Right.
He's going to whip those New York Jets into shape. It's going to be something that New York media machine doesn't know how to react to, and I'm all buckled in for it. He's the only kid that could be mentally tough enough to handle this. And the dude's just tough as nails. He's just going to run around and get his ass kicked 60 minutes every week to just try and get you W's. He's mentally just like Joe Burrow, who we both love. So, there are flaws in his game. His personality might ultimately bring him down.
Right. Yeah.
But it didn't work it wasn't for Baker Mayfield. And so I like it. I like him as that type of quarterback. I have no problem with him leading the Jets. Robert Saleh, it's a great personality match. So easy call, Zach Wilson, number 2 overall.
Let me ask you this, though, Chris. Does his frame concern you at all? Kind of slight frame, had shoulder surgeries. How, is that
the shoulder surgeries do? They do. But the more and more, like the older we get, the listeners at home, TB and I, we both just turned 30. So the more and more drafts the more and more drafts that we cover, right? It's like you forget how many prospects actually were coming into the draft with really big injury concerns that just like haven't come to fruition.
Right.
Like Carson Wentz was at North Dakota State for 5 years and played 2 years and a month. And there's just, I forgot about that. Like that should have been like the first example. So like, I don't think you can't draft Zach Wilson because of his shoulder surgeries. It's the NFL. They're going to be more on top of it than any college medical staff could have been. The frame is real, but it's just like, dude, Pat Mahomes ain't all that big. And like,
but he's kind of sturdy built. Like, his thighs and whatnot.
He got thicker. He been liking that Kansas City barbecue.
Absolutely.
Which, shout out to KC for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And shout out to Andy Reid. If Andy Reid's your coach, you're gonna be sneaking some cheeseburgers.
One of the best play callers in the business for sure.
Shout out to Andy Reid. He's grown on me, but yeah, like I'll give you that Patrick Mahomes' frame is kind of like thickened up and whatnot. But you don't have to be. A lot of the good tall quarterbacks are really, really skinny. Like Matt Ryan is a slight guy for being so tall.
Trevor Lawrence,
The way Zach Wilson plays quarterback, it's like you want to kind of get him on the move anyway. So there's no problem with him reading, like he'll find his windows and whatnot. I'm not about to call him Drew Brees. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, like, you get him back there, and he's going to have to be running for his life anyway. It's like, unless Mekhi Becton turns into Jonathan Ogden next year, he's going to be running for his life. So it's all good. I don't think anything about his frame would, if anything, it just makes it more valuable. It would be less. It's better for the Jets because it's something else Jacksonville wouldn't pick Zach Wilson for.
Exactly.
I just think you have a perfect case study of two guys that are who they are, that maybe one is this and one's that, but they're going exactly where they need to go.
Absolutely.
And I think you agree with that.
Absolutely. I'd say, too, Mike LaFleur coming from San Francisco, running that Shanahan-style offense, a lot of bootlegs, a lot of rollouts, a lot of, flat concepts, things of that nature. He throws the ball to the outside part of the field very well. That's probably his biggest strength. And I think they can, get him. I mean, Denzel Mims,
Those are the route trees. Those are the route trees that you beat to death for rookie quarterbacks because it's the one decision that you're not just risking an interception over the middle. So if you are good at your out routes and your throws towards the sideline, you're converting more 3rd and 7s.
Exactly.
I like that. I like Denzel Mims. Jamison Crowder. The pieces to the Jets are like sneakily there, and if they weren't trying to tank the way that they were last year, they probably would have been a 5.
Or had Adam Gase, one of the two, but
or Greg Williams,
calling all cover 0 blitz on 3rd and 15 with no time left. Anyway,
I want to ask you: have you ever had a more clear moment of, oh my God, we just watched the team throw a game, like ever in your life, than that play?
That was pretty bad. It's funny. I was actually in Vegas watching that game and seeing that they run 0 pressure with an inexperienced corner who falls for a double move.
2 plays in a row because he overthrew what's his face on the first one. Right. Yeah, he overthrew Aguilar and then he got Ruggs on the same play.
Right. The same exact play.
I love that. I don't know. That makes me happy. It sucks that it was the Raiders because Gruden doesn't deserve football moments like that, but that made me happy when that happened.
No, that's fair. Absolutely.
You mentioned Shanahan. So do we want to go to do we want to talk about what Kyle's got in front of him here at number 3?
So, folks, with the 3rd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, Kyle Shanahan, being that he saw the RG3 experiment, he's never taken mobile quarterbacks, whether it's a Matt Ryan, a Matt Schaub, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins. I think the Niners will be selecting from Alabama quarterback Mac Jones. I think it's a safe pick. I think he can wait behind Jimmy for a little bit of time before he gets ingrained into the system. And I think that with what Mac does well, rolling out, really good ball placement. Mm-hmm. He's got George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk as his weapons.
Yep.
Always a good running game. Kyle Juszczyk in the backfield. I think he makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. I'm so happy that you were looking at this the same way I was. Look, there's a lot that's not there about Mac Jones, but what is there is the passing accuracy that you just can't. It's decision making, reading, actual true accuracy. He wasn't just doing that because he was throwing it to Waddle and Smith. He was doing it because he is the most cerebral quarterback that we have in this draft class. And so I love that approach to the game. That's, Kyle, we talked about Matt Ryan, like that Kyle Shanahan, Matt Ryan relationship was special that year. Right. They ended up losing the Super Bowl. You could hear it in the interviews. That is the type of guy that Mac Jones is. Then you watch those pro days. You saw the way that those guys were interacting. Kyle Shanahan is more of a mad genius than Sean McVay is, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. Both mad geniuses, but I would agree with that because I think Kyle does a little more on 12 personnel. I think McVay loves 11 personnel, but I think Shanahan's versatility, I think, is a little bit more unmatched.
And so I think I think he's kind of predisposed to draft players that will think that way. And Mac Jones has come out and said, I like being in control. I like getting into the nitty gritty details of setting up the right plays in the script of the offense. It would be music to Kyle Shanahan's ears. And it's just, God, and this sounds cliche. It's such a more proven commodity than Trey Lance, which I think would be the next quarterback that would make the most sense here. And I love Justin Fields, but I don't think this offense, this playbook would showcase the best that you can get out of Justin Fields,
right?
With the exception of he is great at throwing down the seam, so you do have your tight end play there.
Right. George Kittle, yep.
Mac Jones is Mac Jones 100,000%, and the Niners are they're going to be 11-5 again. They make this pick because they're so good.
As long as they stay healthy. And the defense, Nick Bosa got banged up last year. Jimmy Garoppolo was out. George Kittle was out. If they can stay healthy, the Niners, they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They can get right back there. They have the team.
Think about what they moved capital-wise to get up to this 3rd pick.
Right.
You don't do that for Trey Lance and my take on Justin Fields is because of the offense, but we haven't gotten to this yet.
We have gotten to this yet.
Those concerns, that's why you can't do that with moving up for the 3rd pick. So that's also why Mac Jones.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100% agree with you there. And, Mac Jones, 3-star recruit, 3rd behind Tua, Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts at Alabama, gets his opportunity this past season, tears it up, wins the national championship, is going to probably be a top 3 pick. So Congrats
I
to
also
him.
loved.
Yeah.
I heard this anecdote about Mac Jones that when he was growing up, he would just constantly argue with the refs. Like every youth football game with Mac Jones was 60 minutes of him arguing with the refs. So they started calling him McEnroe, and that's still one of his nicknames now.
You cannot be serious.
Cannot be serious. Answer the question, jerk. Dude, pick him third. Screw it. Like dad bod God, Mac Jones. Dad bod God. And you know what? If you go into Tuscaloosa and you're doing that, you're going to be okay. You can go anywhere and handle it. San Francisco, really great football city. And so I'm sure that they would love that pick.
Well, they play in Santa Clara, but absolutely great football city. Great fans, great tradition. Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure the whole Bay Area. I'm sure the whole Bay Area shares the sentiment. But yeah.
Right. Now the Raiders are gone. They're now in Las Vegas, so definitely only room for one team now. Yeah. All right, Chris, at number 4, we have the Atlanta Falcons.
We do. Well, you know, there's a streak that the Atlanta Falcons have of just picking defensive backs a little too early in the first round.
Yeah.
Luckily this year, we don't get to run into that problem. We have the easiest, most brainless pick yet, because I feel like you could draw more debates between Lawrence and Wilson than this. We're drafting Kyle Pitts, the 4th overall pick for the Atlanta Falcons, tight end Kyle Pitts from the University of Florida, who I don't think I've gotten as excited for the potential of what somebody could possibly do on the football field. He sets that standard.
Matchup nightmare. 6'5".
It's not like
the arms.
He's not even a tight end. He's not even a tight end, dude. He's just Megatron, maybe like 20 pounds heavier.
Right.
And so because of that, you have to run him across the middle of the field more. But the best part is that when he puts his hand in the ground, above average blocker, really, really good, especially road grading on that run game. Like, you know, you're never going to have him sit and try and like read an option block.
No, not at all.
But you're going to need the blocking help with that with Atlanta. I mean, their offensive line it's not the worst in the league.
It's middle of the road. It's middle of the road.
But you know, it's like the Falcons every year they need to work on their defense, right? Every year they need to work on their defense. But this year you're keeping Matt Ryan, so you have that saved rapport. You still have Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones.
Right.
You got Hayden Hurst now, so you're tight end. That's the position that really on offense you need to attack the most. You keep making picks on defense year after year, and you don't see any immediate returns, or really, bluntly, any returns.
Right.
You know, right? Like even Tack McKinley when they drafted a D lineman, I look at the way that ended.
Right.
So yeah, you draft Kyle Pitts, and like you might go 9-7 and steal a wild card spot, and good God, every game's going to be 42-41, and it's going to be amazing. Right. And then you keep him the whole time. And you're going to have 3 years of Julio Jones and Kyle Pitts on the same football field. Let's go. Sign me up. Let me get that fantasy pick, slot that bad boy in there, and we're going 14-0. That's the tape. Kyle Pitts, period.
I think also new head coach Arthur Smith coming from the Tennessee Titans, offensive coordinator.
Love Art Smith, by the way. Absolutely love Art Smith.
You think about what he
got
did,
that opportunity.
I am too. Well deserving. You think about what he had with Tennessee. Obviously, Derrick Henry, best back in the league in my opinion. He's unstoppable, except Baltimore in the playoffs, right? You have 2 tight end sets, right? Jonnu Smith, Christian Firkser. They have now. You bring in Pitts, like you said, with someone like Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst. I believe I said Hunter Henry. I'm sorry about that. Hayden Hurst
on the Patriots. Yeah, but Hayden Hurst.
I meant Hayden Hurst. Yes. Yeah.
Hayden Hurst. 22 personnel. With Ridley, Jones, Pitts and Hurst.
You get maybe Zacchaeus out on the outside and get him going deep. It's fun. That's something fun. And Art Smith's creative mind. That's the big allure in this pick is like you really get somebody who just wants to get to play with his toys, and you're giving him the funnest toy to play with. You got really like an RC car and some Hot Wheels, and here's a PS5. So take the PS5.
I mean, you kind of have to play quarters against them, honestly. You can't play cover. If you run cover 3, cover 1, he's going to attack the middle of the field, and they have guys like they run in breaking routes, Julio and Calvin.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard offense to stop if they get everybody clicking. The O-line does get better. This could be a scary offense. Atlanta.
Calvin Ridley stands to win the most here because he's probably going to be on single coverage like 4 out of 5 plays. And so, yeah.
And we know he can eat. So, great pick for the Falcons at number 4. Kyle Pitts. Unfortunately, he went to Florida, but obviously, heck of a player in all seriousness.
Yeah, so. I mean, honestly, these past 12 years of volunteer football, I don't really get mad at players from other SEC schools for
I
doing
really
things
can't
against
even
Tennessee.
hate. I really can't even hate. I probably should.
You know what I mean? It's like Amari. The reason I knew Amari Cooper was going to be a good NFL pro was because he was a freshman. He went like 9 for 230 and 2 in Neyland Stadium, and I had to sit there and watch it and be like, oh, okay, he's a pro. I can't get mad at that. And that's what Kyle Pitts is. Yeah, I don't let dudes doing stuff to Tennessee get me upset anymore. That ship is long.
Oh yeah, well, that's another conversation we'll have another day because Tennessee sports.
That'll be a great podcast, man. If you remember Nick, we could call up Nick, and he just got off the radio in Chattanooga, and I mean, good God, we could go down that rabbit hole. Just the Lane Kiffin, just our freshman year alone with Lane, we call up. All right, sorry, we're gonna have to edit that out, but that is a podcast I'd love to do with you if you want.
No, absolutely, man. The downfall of Tennessee sports. Now we're a basketball school. Who would have thought?
Yeah, facts. I love that, dude. I love the TBA for basketball games. That's
Thompson Bowling is awesome.
It's an easy sell. Pratt Pavilion, easy sell. Go shoot around hoops there, have that view. Yeah. God, I do miss Knoxville. Whenever I get talking about it, I realize, like, how did I end up back here in PA?
No, I hear you, man. Absolutely. All right, folks.
Sorry to have derailed that.
No, you're good. You're good. All right, folks. It is now time for DJ Tabooh to put on his team hat of the Cincinnati Bengals. And with the 5th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be smart about this, and we'll discuss this, Chris.
We are.
And we'll take Penei Sewell, left tackle, Houday Nation, University of Oregon. We're locking it in, and we're not apologizing about it. Do I want Jamar Chase? Yes. Will I cry myself to sleep if we don't take Jamar Chase? Probably yes as well.
Yeah.
But listen, Joe just came off a really bad ACL injury and reconstruction of his knee. We have to protect him. Jonah Williams has been banged up. I know we brought in Riley Reef. We have to take offensive line. There are good receivers in round 2. When we had 38 that we can either move up or move down for to get. Let's take a left tackle.
Oh, dude. Yeah, you might have more fall to you guys at 38.
Rondale Moore,
yeah.
Maybe Terrace Marshall. Maybe Terrace Marshall because it's medical. We'll see.
Sure. You can hope for that.
Well, exactly, right.
Well, all right, fine. Yeah, if you want to hope for that.
Yeah. He should be a first rounder, by the way. Just FYI.
Oh, we'll get to that, I assume. Wink. I'm glad that you did the smart thing here, man. I think that picture of Joe with the surgery scar on his knee, I think you saw that, right? In the promo shot. That's all you need to know. Of course, you want to keep the head of your franchise happy. And Joe Burrow probably earned that the way that he fought through what he fought through last year. Like, I would default to what Joe Burrow wants, except here. Like, right. This is the lock case example of you are dumb if you don't draft the offensive lineman here. It's a conservative football play. People don't like it, but you look at teams that actually were able to build and turn into, I don't want to say a dynasty, but a consistent force, a consistent threat.
Right.
You have good trench play. You protect your quarterback. You build an O-line through the draft. And even if Penei Sewell doesn't turn out to be the next Orlando Brown,
Anthony
you know
Munoz,
what I mean?
Yep.
The next, yeah, I guess really, if we really want to go there, I was going to say maybe like Willie Rowe, even if he doesn't turn into the next Jonathan Ogden, which is like asking a lot. And I don't know about that type of if he's that mauler type of offensive lineman, but technically Penei Sewell is one of the best decision-making offensive linemen, which is, it's not really part of the game, but at the same time, it is your quick pickup block. I don't see, the dude doesn't make bad reads on tape. Sometimes he gets out-muscled on tape, but you can add to his frame. You just don't leave Joe exposed.
And he's 20 years old. He's still a baby. He can't even have a beer yet.
That's the thing about those Polynesian kids, man. They get them over in from 16. And then they make them look like 23-year-olds by the time they're 17.
Yeah.
And
so
them and the West African kids, all of the kids that come over from Nigeria and whatnot, that have the great grades at 16 and get drafted at 20.
Right.
What could happen where Penei Sewell wouldn't work out in the league?
Honestly, injury. Probably just injury.
Maybe he gets moved to guard and then he's just the best guard in the league. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't, as awesome as Jamar Chase is, as much as everything I said about Kyle Pitts, how it equally applies to Jamar Chase,
mm-hmm.
it just doesn't it just doesn't help you here. It just you're never the way to best maximize what Ja'Marr Chase brings is getting him in those intermediate to deep routes. You won't even have the time to like go through your progressions to get him a look unless you get Penei Sewell. So yeah, I'm glad you were smart, man. That takes a lot to do the smart thing.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Hopefully Bengals draft smartly and take Penei Sewell. We'll protect Joe Burrow for the next 10 to 15 years. And listen, man, as a Bengals fan, I expect a championship appearance this decade. I know it sounds crazy to say.
Yeah.
Because the Bengals have been bad for a long time. But Joe Burrow, I believe in him. I believe in Zach Taylor and what we're building. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but within 10 years. That's all I'm asking for. It's going to be to a bowl. I haven't even seen a playoff win, guys. A playoff victory. Forget a
That's
Super
right.
Bowl.
That was that video that Brandon Williams made about like I've been alive since
oh my 1990 was our last playoff win. Yep, 91. Yep.
I'm sorry. Loyalty's hard to come by.
Yeah. I tend to be loyal. That's my friends know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So
that's big. Well, I like your pick there, and now it's more fun when you do the right thing, like just lock in the need in the first round, so that you can go and then be creative once we hit day 2.
Right.
And God, the 38th pick it's a great spot to sit.
Really
I think
good.
you could historically look back at guys picked early in round 2.
Michael Thomas. I mean, a lot of good players you can find in round 2.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Like Kevin King, like first pick. You're like the Bengals and the Eagles are similar, where you could use help everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of that, the 6th pick,
yes, sir,
did belong to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they also did what I think was the smart thing, and they traded that pick away. Would it have been nice to draft Ja'Marr Chase here? Yes. But would drafting another wide receiver in the first round in an era where you know that you need more help than just at wide receiver, I think it was the smart thing. And so now you have the Miami Dolphins, who all of a sudden, it was fun to make fun of the Dolphins like a year and a half ago, and now they're 10-6 and legitimate. And I think the jury is still out on Tua. But
it is.
With this 6th pick, you make this draft, and this will immediately be your litmus test on whether Tua can hack it or not. You give him Ja'Marr Chase.
Absolutely.
So with the 6th overall pick of the 2021 NFL draft, and I believe me and you, I think our original mocks might both still be holding true up to this
holding
point.
true right now so far.
6th pick, Miami Dolphins, Ja'Marr Chase. Once again, don't have to think too hard about it. Now, this is one where you kind of can get a little bit more game theory about, well, do the Dolphins like really need a wideout first? You have Devontae Parker. Preston Williams was really showing you some stuff.
Really good year. Really good league last year. Absolutely.
Former Vol for a year, Preston Williams.
Yes, sir.
It's like they need line help, but they don't like. There's not. You don't need a tackle, so like you wouldn't draft Slater here, and like
no,
you can't like. Do you trade back to then draft the guard? No, like you draft Ja'Marr Chase. So this is what I talked about with you before the podcast started. I get worried about dudes that sat a year off for certain positions. Being a wideout in the SEC is not one of them. If you are able to play next to on the same field as Justin Jefferson and Terrace Marshall and still have 2,000 receiving yards and win the Biletnikoff Award, you were the best at what you do. And SEC wideouts translate to the NFL, period. SEC wideouts translate to the NFL. So now you're just taking a team that already is kind of a step ahead of the game for what people projected them to be, and you're just giving them one of the most dangerous targets. Now all of a sudden the Dolphins are going to be one of those teams that the NFL turns into an NFL darling. Like, look at how fun it is on South Beach, and they got Ja'Marr Chase, and yeah, you got to do it. You have to make the pick there.
Right, and they have more picks in this draft that we're going to hit on. That's exciting for the Dolphins, and Coach Flores has done an outstanding job. Only 2 years there.
Believe that's me. I think they picked like 18th in the first round as well.
18th, so. Yep. You will get them as well.
So yeah, I think you'll get. I don't have too many opinions on the Dolphins. I don't love them. I don't hate them. But like, shout out, like if you're a Dolphins fan, sitting pretty right now. Sitting pretty as long as it kind of just comes back to Tua, and we can't spend this podcast talking about whether or not Tua is going to figure it out or not. That's just a different convo. But good God, if you give him Ja'Marr Chase and he can't figure it out, then then two things. Pardon me. If you give him Ja'Marr Chase and he can't figure it out, then you know two things. One, he can't hack it. Two, you still have Ja'Marr Chase.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the way you got to look at it.
Absolutely. No, 100%, man. I agree with you there. Ja'Marr Chase, pretty cut and dry. Miami Dolphins at number 6. Number 7 is where I think we can get a little thinking about a trade. Now in this mock draft, we will not be doing trades, but just possibilities.
But we can talk about the trades that would make sense in the moment. Yes.
Absolutely. So at number 7, I think Detroit can move down with Denver at 9 to possibly get a Justin Fields. Right?
Yeah.
That's a possibility. But at number 7, you just lost Kenny Galladay. You just lost Marvin Jones. You got Jared Goff. You got to give him some weapons. I don't care if this dude's 166 pounds, 10 pounds. It doesn't matter. Devontae Smith cannot be covered. He cannot be touched. He's Marvin Harrison 2.0.
He is.
He's a great kid. He's yes, sir, no, sir. I mean, he's just a great kid. I know he went to Alabama, but he's a great kid. Heisman Trophy winner. I'm taking right now at number 7, wide receiver, Devontae Smith, University of Alabama. And I'm going to throw a Roll Tide in there just because.
I got respect. Yeah, real recognize real. You know, Absolutely. I tell you what, freshman year, a couple of us went to Tuscaloosa. They took great care of us. I was an 18-year-old. I had no clue what I was doing. They loved it. It was awesome. Yeah,
you made it out alive. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, made it out more than alive. Had a blast. So I got respect for what they do in Tuscaloosa, and I got respect for Devontae Smith's game. The whole point of being a good wide receiver is being able to create separation from the defense, or being able to read spots in the defense where you can sit and be naturally in a position of separation. And as awesome as Jamar Chase is, he's not as good at that aspect of his game as Devontae Smith is. I mean, Devontae Smith is revolutionary. Kind of like he kind of reminds me of like a slighter Antonio Brown as well, because of the way he gets kind of chippy and deep in the routes when he needs to use the body. He actually, in that slight frame, has the power in it, and it's just smart football. I mean, it's not like Jared Goff getting like a Randy Moss type wideout for Jared Goff ain't gonna bode well, but getting him a Devontae Smith that can get you like a 10-yard out, like a little flag graded
bubble screens,
I'm sure Jared Goff would have no problem throwing, a bubble screen every play.
Right. Our RPO game is easy with Devontae. I mean,
I think Devontae also, Jalen Waddle has more of a explosive
He's
upside.
Yes,
but he's smaller than Devontae Smith is. So in that regard, you lose Kenny Galladay, and Devontae Smith is a true number 1. I don't think the frame matters all that much. It is a shame that I guess, a lot of the Stafford Detroit offense was winning jump balls. You ain't going to win as many jump balls without Devontae Smith, but that's not a reason not to draft him. So I was what I have on my notes was, if you don't trade back, it's one of the 2 Alabama wideouts.
Right.
And I might be a little bit more skeptical of like he's small. Like 166 is shockingly small. Like you have to get that frame up to 175 to make it. So I'm worried about that, but it ain't going to affect the way he plays football. It'll just affect the way he's able to stay healthy. Right. Jalen Waddle has injury concerns.
He does.
If you want to go that direction, I would give you that Devontae Smith much safer, and not safer in a better safe than sorry way, just more of a stable pick.
Already NFL ready right now.
Yeah.
Devontae fits that more than Jalen Waddle, personally. So, all right. Number 8, we have the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. Not a bad season. I think Coach Matt Rule's done a really good job with that program. Joe Brady, offensive coordinator. They just got Sam Darnold in a trade package from the Jets. They have Teddy Bridgewater. Do they get him some weapons? Do they get him some O-line help? What are you thinking here, Chris?
So there's a lot of ways you can go here. I love Matt Rule because as a Philadelphian, a lot of my friends, they went to school in Temple. They covered Temple. I have just heard a lot of Matt Rule stories. I like what they have going down there personnel-wise. Losing Curtis Samuel hurts, but I wouldn't just go and draft Jalen Waddle because of that. I like having the combination of Matt Rule and Joe Brady and just giving them what all they have in front of them right now. I don't think you need to draft help in that regard yet. The tight end is a spot that they need to improve on, but that ain't here at this 8th overall pick. With the defense, it's like the main need, I think, is edge rush help.
Brian Burns, but opposite him. You're right.
Opposite. Like, the linebacker position is just, it's always something that Carolina seems to have under control. So now all of a sudden you're in however many years post Kuechly, and it's not quite looking like that But just the holistic picture of the Carolina Panthers, what I think helps them the most is they're talented enough offensively to compete. You need to shore up that offensive line. And so this is probably going to be the first maybe reach in people's eyes.
Okay.
But I am in love with Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. And I think the most it's not obvious. Nothing's obvious. But the best way to take what you're working on in this Matt Rule experiment, moving forward when you have Christian McCaffrey and you have Robbie Anderson, and who knows if it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater or what you do at quarterback. You know what I said about Penei Sewell? Like, maybe he might not be the next Jonathan Ogden.
Right.
The best case example of Rashawn Slater, like in 51 times out of 100, he will be the next Jonathan Ogden.
Very refined. Very refined player.
He's the combination of true physical brawn with that Northwestern mind on the perfect frame, and then even the perfect scenario of just being an overlooked recruit and having everything, and then being part of that Northwestern team that brought those guys to he's the real deal. He's the real deal. And he's that type of guy that I think, Carolina, when they made it to the Super Bowl, people sleep on, that was one of the best offensive lines of all time, was the Cam Newton Carolina Panthers offensive line.
Mike Remmers, I believe, on that O-line.
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner, a guard. Yep.
It's bad that I'm not remembering more, but they started every game together. The Panthers are one of those teams that they when they beat you, it's because they beat you up.
Yes.
It's not a Kansas City Chiefs. It's the Panthers are like the Baltimore Ravens of the NFC South.
When they say keep pounding, that is a legit thing that they do.
They're
very
pounding.
Physical.
And Rashawn Slater, probably better in pass pro.
Hey, if you look at his Ohio State tape, man, against Chase Young, he was outstanding.
So he's just awesome. Like that's I don't really know why people aren't talking about him in the same breath as Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
I don't know, because of Penei Sewell's position flexibility. Like he not only he will be just as good of a guard as a tackle. Correct. So just certain weeks you might just want to play him at a certain spot. Like Rashawn Slater is the best left tackle, I think, in the draft. And if you do go with Teddy Bridgewater, you got to keep him protected. He showed you something. And so if you trust him and you make that investment of the offensive line, that could blossom even more. So all things considered, I think anything else would be a reach. I think some people listening to this might think Slater's a reach. To that I say, watch him prove you wrong. We're going 8th pick in the 2021 draft, Rashawn Slater to the Panthers, and very confident about it.
I love it. Right now we're all 8-8 for what I had.
Oh, you went? Okay, cool.
I had Rashawn Slater.
Awesome.
I had Rashawn Slater.
So I did have Waddle technically at 7, but that's water under the bridge. We're clearly showing that we know what we're doing.
Absolutely. And we didn't talk before this either that much.
No, we didn't. Yeah, that's true.
Go over where we're going to pick. All right. So at number 9, we have the Denver Broncos on the clock. New GM George Patton taking over for John Elway in that role.
Putting his face out there a little bit, Mr. Patton. Really hey, this is who the hell I am. John just hired me, so get to know me a little bit. Right. I like it. Yeah.
The Broncos have been pretty good on defense with Vic Fangio. Goes without saying. Obviously Von Miller will be back hopefully this season, healthy and under a new contract. Bradley Chubb, they have defensive pieces.
They do.
On offense, you have...
That was what won any time that they were winning games last year was because of their defense. So, yeah.
Exactly. On offense, you have Melvin Gordon at running back. Mm-hmm. You have Jerry Jeudy in the fold. Mm-hmm. You have KJ Hamler. You will also have returning Cortland Sutton.
Deshaun Hamilton,
exactly.
Yeah,
a lot of wide receivers. Noah Fant. Alberto from Mizzou.
Noah Fant really was starting to figure it out in the second half of last year.
He really was.
Those Iowa tight ends, that's a cheat code in and of itself.
Hawkinson, Fant, Kittle. Yeah, that might be tight end you right there for sure.
Yeah.
Drew Lock has made steps, but it's still inconsistent. And my only fear is he doesn't ever figure it out as a second-round pick. He could. He's got a really good arm. Mm-hmm. He's got really good charisma. I don't think he's that guy.
He's Zach Wilson 1. Like, he's the original Zach Wilson in terms of, like, shut the hell up. We're doing this my way. I'm the guy. And I love that. That draws me to Drew Lock. It just ain't there on the field. Like, it should have been better by now with Drew Lock. Right. I think that's the only way to assess that. It should have gotten better by now. He had plenty of chances. The second round it's not an excuse.
Right.
So
now this will be year 3 for him. Who knows what'll happen? And listen, Mel Kiper had the Broncos taking Micah Parsons, which I think is not the right fit for him on this team with this kind of defense.
No.
So I'm going to say my QB2, maybe my QB1B to Trevor Lawrence, a guy who's been scrutinized by the media, by fans, pundits alike. I'm going to go with Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields at number 9. I think Justin's going to do a great job leading this team. He's got a lot of good weapons. I think he fits that system really well with what they're doing there with Pat Shurmur. I think he goes out there and makes some noise in Denver, and they get their QB1 of the future. I'm going to go Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Ohio State.
So Justin Fields, to me, he has the second highest potential of any of these quarterbacks, right? Like if Trevor Lawrence becomes the next, Rodgers or Luck, so to say, then Justin Fields could be like a Matt Ryan type of quarterback when his career is done. The way that we talk about him, the stats that he could accumulate, he's so talented. He's
Super.
I remember that the thing that people were worried about with Justin Fields when he was transferring out of Georgia was like, can he throw the football? And I'm not
Clemson.
saying this. What's that? Yeah.
See Clemson. Yeah.
I'm not saying this for the sake of this is where we're at in the podcast. The most impressive throws I've seen made in games out of these top 5 quarterbacks were from Justin Fields this year.
Agreed.
It was not Trevor Lawrence. Zach Wilson made some great throws in
Hit
games.
a couple ones, yeah.
But it was the way Justin Fields. It's not like those plays were ever really breaking down all that much. And he has, Chris Olave. There's targets. Yeah, yep. It's like he was throwing a good wideouts, but you have those tough secondaries and linebacking cores in the Big Ten. And the windows it's just a different type of football. And he was playing it like they were playing Big 12 football, and I am just going to razor this football through the seam. I'm hitting my man in stride. I'm throwing 50 touchdowns. And it was a different type of 50 touchdown season than you got out of Dwayne Haskins. Like, Justin Fields is so talented, and I'm sure you're about to get to this, and aside from the medical, the question marks are very genuine. Like there's a lot that you can go, I'd like to see more here. And so that's why I wouldn't have taken him before Mac Jones even.
Okay. I think for me with Fields, does he go through reads a little slower than maybe other guys do? Maybe yes, but he throws to the second receiver more than anybody else in this draft.
Yes.
So it's not like you can't throw it to the tight end or his running back. I think for him, I think he believes that he can make the big play. So he holds it on a little bit longer because he's so athletic. I mean, he runs a 4.4. He's 6'3", 220. He's a big kid, sturdy kid. He's confident. Played baseball, right? At Georgia for a little bit. Or he was going to play baseball at Georgia.
Like, you can watch the way he's talking to guys in the huddle, and it's not a smoke show. It's not like that. Like, that's the underrated part of him as well. Like, he's just somebody that you watch him do what he does, and you follow in line. You fall in line. He's not Drew Lock in that regard. It's not sizzle then steak. It's all steak. Like with Justin Fields, it's like he's proven everybody wrong, honestly, like every play. So really, I think this is the greatest opportunity for him because then I could just be another person that he's like, you should have drafted me first. Because he is that talented.
He's crazy talented, man. He's my favorite QB of this draft class. His story, again, he's had seizures since he was a kid. He takes medication for it, so he's okay. But like, man, he's been through a lot of stuff. I mean, transferring out of Georgia, coming to Ohio State, winning the job. You know, the Clemson loss 2 years ago was really tough, but he comes back, beats them this year. I know they lost to Bama, but Bama was all time loaded for Bama, right? So I love Justin Fields. I'm a big fan of his game. I hope everyone obviously succeeds in this draft class, but I got my eye on him as a possible special player.
And you just feel bad with the news of the epilepsy breaking the way it did. That's something that the dude had been kind of just dealing with and keeping in check. And it was clarified the whole time that in the Fields family, that is like an epilepsy that gets grown out of. And that he has been like, it seems like he's kind of following the same trend. So to release the news the way it did, where it's like, you and I both know that it's not going to stop Justin Fields' potential in the pros. He's going to be protected by NFL med staff. But what it does is it forces a change of approach because of public perception. It forces you to go, hey, fan base, we might take Justin, but we're going to be a little, let's give him, we got to worry about it. And that's unfair. That didn't need to be part of this draft process at all. And it you kind of that you put it into perspective for me that way. It just makes you want to root for him that much more. I couldn't think of somebody who I'm going to be rooting for more than Justin Fields. Also, like, it's fun when the Broncos do well. They're one of those teams where it's like, I don't really care about the Broncos, but when they're doing well, like, a lot of other people really care. And it's just, then it makes that AFC West so fun. So, like, let's do it. Let's get Justin Fields in Denver. Let's have him be boys with John Elway. They can talk about baseball and football together and just be like alpha dogging it out there together. I think that's a match made in heaven. I think that's the perfect scenario. And it would be even better. I don't think that they're going to have to trade back. I don't think it's not like I don't think Carolina's trading back.
Maybe New England could go up, obviously, as we'll probably get to.
So I have a different play for what I think New England's going to do. But like, yeah, Denver should try it to get Justin Fields by whatever means possible. But they might not have to trade up to 7 to do it. And so I think that would be really good.
Cowboy fans, nation and worldwide, the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock at number 10. And my buddy Chris here is a ginormous Eagles fan. So I know this has to pain you to make this pick for Dallas.
Well, we're professionals here, Terrence. Yes. That's what we are. We're professionals here. And here's the deal, man. If I don't want to risk my chance of partying on that yacht with the Jones family. So I don't have anything bad to say about them yet. They, shout out to Oil Money, shout out to AT&T. And if I'm ever down in Texas, maybe you and I can run up to Dallas and find a party. So I'm not going to say anything bad about the Jones family. The play on the football field is fine by me, okay? But in an attempt to kind of shore up that defense and make it so that if the Cowboys win a game, they don't have to win every game 40-39, we're going to take the best defensive player on the board. Potentially the best defensive prospect in this draft, Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain II is the 10th overall pick for the Dallas Cowboys, and a rather thoughtless pick at that.
Unless you're Jerry Jones and he wants Kyle Pitts, which hey,
so
good afford Jerry.
if you were Atlanta, right, and you do that, then in this case right now, you could just say, oh, we got Trey Lance, like the only other dude we would have drafted.
Right, that's a good point.
We could
got
trade
picks
back
for
to 10 and get Trey Lance. So I think we should keep that in mind. Make sure that we plug that in so we sounded like we said that at the right time. Right. But no, yeah, you draft Patrick Surtain. The defense was a mess. The offense was phenomenal. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, the Cowboys' offense was trash. They were winning games with Andy Dalton, like
exactly
being a bad playing quarterback poorly, and they were winning games. The offense is loaded. The offensive line isn't what it used to be. But I don't think that means that you take an offensive lineman with this pick right here. Nope. You need defensive help, and it's like
it's a no-brainer.
I have my reservations on Parsons. I still think this would be too early. Defensive
I do too. After having Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, you don't need Micah Parsons at 10. No.
Well, no. I'm saying for
in general. Okay, gotcha.
For your defense, for like drafting Micah Parsons,
right?
The 10th overall pick would be too early for him, just in a vacuum. I think.
Okay,
fair
that's
what I meant to say there. So I'm sorry about that. Maybe like a Jalen Phillips off the edge. I love him. I love the way he's been rising.
We got to get into his story a little bit too.
But yeah. But it's the more pressing need is clearly in the secondary. And you have a guy in Patrick Surtain that physically he's the best cornerback prospect in terms of his measurables. He doesn't play as like
fast,
as scrappy and as like quick trigger. Yeah, like cornerback that you're kind of familiar with, maybe like a JC Horn, but he saves plays. He saves plays on defense by being as good of a cornerback as he is. That's sort of like how good Richard Sherman was in those Legion of Boom years. They literally are saving pass plays by what all they're covering. I don't want to give the guy too much love because he's probably going on the Cowboys, but he's awesome. Like, he played for Alabama. He's going to the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm still not upset at the guy. It's a surefire pick.
And here's the thing too. Dan Quinn was in Seattle when they had Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Byron Maxwell, Brandon Browner, all those guys. They're going to play cover 1, cover 3, period.
Yeah.
What does Surtain do really well? Playoff coverage, cover 1, cover 3.
Yep.
I mean, what does Alabama run? It's all they run is cover 1, cover 3 pretty much.
It seems like it's cover 3. It seems like it's cover 3 every play.
More so cover. They run more cover 3. But
you're right. It's like, and I guess SEC football isn't quite the the reflection of what a pro style offense is anymore. It's not
Yes.
just the way the SEC is, but it's the closest thing. It's the closest thing, and like
The best athletes, yeah.
you
Really
know,
coaches.
you if Fitzpatrick's going to be the starting quarterback, he probably is. But like you got to worry about Daniel Jones. There's offensive firepower that the Cowboys have to go up against. So you nip that in the bud with a Pats fan. So
Absolutely.
I like it.
Cowboy fans, you got your corner next to his teammate Trayvon Diggs, so that'll be a good little reunion there for those Bama boys.
And you're welcome, Dallas.
Yeah. Speaking of the NFC East, we now come along to the New York Giants. Pretty good year last year. Lost Saquon Barkley to an ACL tear. Daniel Jones, this is year 3 for him. Do we know if he's the guy? We'll see. But the way we do know if he's the guy,
he gets me excited, man. He gets me excited. I don't know what it is about him. He hasn't done anything to objectively prove it yet, but in the I can't quite put my finger on it department, there's something there with Danny Dimes.
He's had moments. He's had his moments for sure. Now it's about the consistency, play after play, and making that happen. But I'll say this, as we mentioned earlier before the show started, there is not a more explosive wide receiver in this draft than Jalen Waddle.
Yep.
And I think now that Kenny Galladay, now a Giant, he's your big receiver, right? Get you a quick, fast player like Jalen Waddle who can return kicks. As we saw, I know he has injury history, and we'll get into that here shortly, but the Giants have to take Jalen Waddle, help Daniel Jones out, help Saquon Barkley out, not having too many stacked boxes, so he can actually run the football. So I'm taking Jalen Waddle at 11 to the Giants. I think they stay there. I don't see any trades really happening. I've seen like Kwity Paye and whatnot.
That was the other. So what I had here was either Kwity Paye or the Devontae Smith Jalen Waddle pick that didn't get made. Yes.
Kwity Paye, crazy athleticism. And we'll get into him later on, because I'm sure he'll go in this first round. But, man, getting Jalen Waddle at 11, really good value. And he's a stud. And he's a Bama boy. And you know he's going to be ready to go, right?
There's not a lot to, because if you know about Jalen Waddle, it's because you were watching a game where Jalen Waddle destroyed your team. Right. I feel like he's not.
Buck. Yeah.
It's a name that, like, if you weren't an SEC football fan, you will probably just come across that name and go, "Oh, another Alabama wideout that I'm supposed to care about," because he would give you the burst games, and then he would have kind of like 3 for 29. Like that was sort of what Jalen Waddle was. But you just said it. It's explosiveness. And one of the saddest things that we've kind of seen over the past 2 years, and injuries had a lot to do with it, but the downfall, like the slipping back that is Saquon Barkley's contribution. And you got to do something to try and get that guy back to what he was his rookie year and the first part of his the first half of the second year. You have to do something. So that Jalen Waddle is the best option to create more options for Saquon Barkley and to capitalize on. You have your big body wide out in Kenny Galladay. You have a lot of it's just good technical play. The offensive line for the longest time had been what the Giants needed to work on, and it seems like they're finally approaching that. So in that regard, it's like, do you take Kwity Paye, that would kind of be a luxury, or do you take the wide receiver that you need more? And if it was any other wideout, it would scare me, because you talk about the third wideout or the fourth wideout in a draft class usually isn't as good as the top 3. That's not the case with Jalen Waddle.
Right.
It's a different type of skill set, but it's a type of skill set that can make just as big of an impact. So I like that. Yeah, I would have taken Jalen Waddle there as well. All right.
So let's get to the Eagles pick.
Let's rock it. Yeah. So we already just did 2 NFC East teams in a row. So why not? Why not the worst of the 3 NFC East teams to pick? Why not save them for last and have them pick 12? I actually love this. I love this decision. We're clearly actually. Hang on. I'm sorry. Give me a second here.
Wardrobe change. All right,
there we go.
Welcome to the podcast.
The Philadelphia Eagles are clearly in a rebuild. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's where we're at, right? It was an awesome Super Bowl run in 2017, but even the real fans of the team knew that was a hyper tight window that the Eagles were able to take advantage of in a way that teams usually aren't able to get lucky like that. And so there were holes that were getting ignored so that the Eagles could try and compete. And then the wheels fell off this Carson Wentz thing. And I like the approach to just start from scratch and get it right. And so saying all that, there's a lot of help that the Philadelphia Eagles need. I think you can even just not like let's laugh at Chris way. Like, it's bad, right? And
it's a little rough.
Your quarterback situation, if it was any other team, would be a top 3 concern. But I think with where you're at right now, as an Eagles fan, you are best suited just hoping that you have another at least entertaining year with Jalen. And maybe it'll work out in that regard, or just get a little bit better, or just be a stopgap so that you don't make that quarterback investment until next year when you can afford to focus on that need more.
Right.
Because you need defensive help in a bad way. Like, in a bad way. Even the games that the Eagles were winning last year, there was lapses in the secondary that you wouldn't see in low levels of D1 football. I don't know what it was. I don't know if Jim Schwartz had one foot out the door or if he just got tired of it. But it's not like the personnel was all that different or all that bad defensively last year.
It was not.
Year.
You're right. 100%.
Now he's gone. Now Jim Schwartz is gone, and we have Jonathan Gannon, who I like. I really like what I've heard him say about his approach to defense. So let's let him get his defense back in shape, because at least the offense, there's young, fun players there, and you can steal some games that way. And that's not where you need to go here in the draft. You need to fix the defense. So now I look at the defense. The defensive line still has bodies. It still has talent. You have Javon Hargrave. You have Fletcher Cox. You have Derek Barnett, who is the most frustrating player ever to cheer for, but he's still a good asset for the team at the end of the day.
Yes.
So you don't waste the pick on the defensive line. Linebackers had been what Eagles fans like to complain about the most, and for due cause. But if you look at efficiency ratings, PFF is good at what they do. It doesn't mean it's the objective word, but our 2 best players on defense last year were AJ Singleton, the middle linebacker, and TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards was at one point, and then Duke Riley, who we picked up off the scrap heap from the Falcons. Exactly. So we don't need to draft a linebacker, because at the very least, those guys are all coming back, and maybe one of those guys wasn't. You need secondary help. We just drafted Patrick Surtain. This guy is almost as good as Patrick Surtain, and he does a couple of things much better than Patrick Surtain. With the 12th overall pick, the Eagles are drafting J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. You get a guy who, what I love about J.C. Horn is he's, in a great way, he's bigger than how he plays. So he's 6'1", he's 205, he's got long arms. He plays like a 5'8" cannonball running back, trying to prove himself and stop guys out there.
And get his hands on you.
It's not that smooth, let's drop back and make frustrate guys in cover 3. I'm jamming you on the line. I'm talking shit to you the whole game. Welcome to Philly. You got Darius Slay on this side of the field. You got me over here. You ain't beating us down the sideline. And that's an awesome – that's a pick that Philadelphia fans will just love. And also, quarterbacks out of South Carolina, amazing track record in the NFL.
Stephon Gilmore.
Amazing track record in Philadelphia, too. Going back, you had Sheldon Brown in the early 2000s. But even the people who know about Fred Williams back in the day across from like Eric Allen, South Carolina quarterbacks on the Eagles, man. So they need so much help. Micah Parsons is not going to give you the help you need, because maybe now that we're getting up to that 12th pick, it might start to be a reasonable spot to draft him. Scheme wise, this is one of the defenses that he probably, I don't know if Jonathan Gannon is going to kind of keep. It's not going to be a Tampa 2, it's not going to be a wide 9 defense like the way it was with Jim Schwartz, but it's going to be on 4-3 principles. But there's a lot of question marks there for me with Micah Parsons. Aside from him sitting out that past year, you don't need offensive line. You just need the offensive lineman that you've been drafting in the first round to stay healthy or figure it out. And so I would bypass Darisaw, even though I do love Darisaw's game. I think J.C. Horn is just much better than Caleb Farley and Greg Newsome, who are still going to be first-round picks. Right. But you draft J.C. Horn in this regard.
Absolutely. I mean, J.C. Horn, looking at the prospects of every corner since 1987, he's the number 1 graded corner in certain aspects from size, speed.
There we go.
So
because he's big, but he plays like a dude that's been 5'6" his whole life. It's fun to watch.
And when he gets his hands on you, and his technique has gotten a lot better this season, 2020, than it was 19. So,
and I figured he would give you a 4.55, 4.56. This dude gave you a 4.40. don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
He's good. He's good, and yeah, like he's one of those guys that a lot of times, I guess it was I guess it was more prevalent later, like earlier on in the NFL. But you would talk about, hey, this guy needed to work on something, and then he showed you over the course of his college career that he made that progress. Now we just kind of give these guys like a blank slate of like, well, they were in their scheme and they were working on what they needed to work on. J.C. Horn got better. He got objectively better, and all the things that he wasn't good at, which is in terms of if you're going off ball, where you're lining up at, where you're stunning. Like he's just objectively good at that now. It's not even a point of improvement.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited just getting to root for the guy, because that's a school. Their players work in Philadelphia. South Carolina Gamecocks. It works for us, the Philadelphia Eagles. So welcome to the Illy. Welcome to the Illy. Fly Eagles fly. And
there we go.
I like the Chargers. I don't know if you had more to say about J.C. Horn. But I'm really excited about your Chargers pick. But let's go back to J.C. Horn real quick.
I'll just say J.C. Horn. I mean, his dad, Joe Horn, played NFL for 12 years. Really good receiver for the Saints.
You think J.C. Horn grew up like playing backyard football and just having his dad just torch him?
Oh,
like
yeah.
You're just trying to mark up your dad, and your dad is just relentlessly torching you like 40 plays in a row.
Right.
I'd either never want to play football again, or I'd want to just kill everybody on a football field. So I'm glad he took the latter of the two options.
Well, you learn by failure. I'm sure he's failed a lot, and he's had some struggles in the past covering. But when he gets his hands on you and he can play the techniques that he does, and when especially if he's playing like a bail technique or like a trail technique, oh my gosh! I mean, he's disruptive. Like it's very Richard Sherman-esque with his length and strength. Now, if he can read routes, like again, his dad Joe Horn, we're going to be in for a Philly nightmare for sure with him and Slay, big play Slay. So great pick by the Eagles.
I don't want him to be like trying to jump routes exclusively like year one. I don't like we're not there yet.
No.
But to draft a quarterback and go, hey, like we can throw you out there and you're going to be good. Like you're going to be chirping. You're going to be shutting dudes down. You're going to be taking up real estate in their head. Yeah, let's go in that regard. Definitely.
Absolutely. All right. Now we move over to the 13th pick, right? And the Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock. Justin Herbert, Rookie of the Year, played incredibly well last year. I'm not going to lie to you guys. As someone who watched him at Oregon and watched the Arizona State tape, the Auburn tape, the Cal tape, I didn't see it in Justin Herbert.
I didn't see it either.
I didn't see it.
The two worst mistakes I made last year were the two Justins, Justin Herbert and Justin Jefferson. And I was convinced that Justin Herbert couldn't throw the ball down the field, and then that mofo only just chucked the ball down the field all year, and it was amazing. So
with one of the worst O-lines, right? With not a great O-line, and I think that's where we're going with this pick.
Dude, we're 13 for 13 then.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
Here's where I'm going, right? So you have the fact that they picked up Corey Linsley from the Packers in free agency.
Guard, right?
Center guard.
Center guard. Okay, yeah,
center guard. You have Brian Bulaga, who plays right tackle. You got to get a left tackle. I think this is too high for Tevin Jenkins.
Agreed.
But I like him as a right tackle. But playing left tackle, and I know he's got some things to improve on consistency-wise, I think you got to take the Virginia Tech Hokie, Christian Darrisaw. Let's get it. Blindside of Justin Herbert. You got the weapons. You got Keenan Allen. You got Austin Eckler. Let's throw up that O-line to where Justin can make that second-year leap or doesn't have that second-year slump, if you will. But yeah, again, Christian Darrisaw, I think no-brainer there at left tackle. Plug and play. Might go through some rough bumps as every rookie does in the NFL, but I think that guy's going to be a stud. Strong.
Well, and what you like about Christian Darrisaw, like aside from how just mean and tough he plays, is right now he's better as a run blocker, and that's the story a lot of time for the guys. But Justin Herbert's still new, so if you get a left tackle that is just kind of can still be molded to be the better kind of pass pro, he's only going to get better at pass pro.
Absolutely.
I think he's still 20 years old, or he might have just turned 21. Like he's a young kid. 6'5", 315, so you can put 15 more pounds on that frame and have it work. That's just a great pick of the future. Now, there is a little bit of drop-off with Christian Darrisaw. Like, if you project what his career could be 100 times, he could be a bust 30 of those playthroughs. Like we kind of have to be honest about that he is lacking in terms of footwork as it relates to picking up blitzes and pass protection.
Right, on a consistent level. Agreed, 100%.
On a consistent level. So that is something that you need to just be good at to make it in the NFL. And I don't think he's even, because he's not consistent, but in terms of just like you just mentioned Brian Bulaga, right? If you were to put Christian Darrisaw on the right side, you kind of already have that. So now you have him and you can turn him into a true pass pro left tackle, and he has the frame for it. And I like Christian Darrisaw's interviews. He didn't seem like a guy that it's, you can't do this, but sometimes you can hear an interview and you might go, okay, I get why that guy was playing inconsistently. He ain't that type of guy.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I just, it might not ever get there with the footwork and the quick reading a blitz pickup, but he's athletic enough to recover, overextend, and still get his guy out of the way. And that's the pick you need to make right there.
Absolutely. Christian Darrisaw.
Yeah.
All right. We got our Skull Nation, the Minnesota Vikings, at pick number 14. A little rough of a season. Offense played pretty well, but defensively, we saw some hiccups. The Saints game, Alvin Kamara had, 7 touchdowns rushing, something crazy. What do you think they need, man, in terms of just guessing probably going to go defense? What are you thinking for the Vikings right now?
It's the Vikings for me. It's like they're committed to Kirk Cousins, right?
They are.
Like they're in there. They want it. So Kirk Cousins is only a good quarterback when he has an extremely plus offensive line. The Minnesota Vikings, their offensive line, it's weird for me to just go, the Vikings need help on their defensive line, because they literally in my entire lifetime have not ever needed help on their defensive line. And I don't know if I'm there yet, kind of looking at their roster to go, like, Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle of that defensive line. They still do have Danielle Hunter, Stephen Weatherly. I wouldn't waste this pick on, you wouldn't be wasting it, but I don't think Kwity Paye would be the
Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, or Jalen Phillips. Like, you don't need that classic rushing linebacker. And I know Kwity Paye, they're talking about having him lose weight and then he could be like a stand-up 3-4 rushing edge. I just think you committed to Kirk Cousins and you have Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson still.
Dalvin Cook, yep.
Get the best offensive lineman. And so whereas LA needed Christian Darrisaw, I think the offensive lineman that works the best here for the Vikings, for them having Dalvin Cook, for them having those targets on the outside, for the fact that he probably is getting projected to play 2 positions in the NFL. Maybe a bit of a reach, but with the 14th overall pick, I am drafting Elijah Vera Tucker from the University of Southern California for the Minnesota Vikings.
Fight on.
You don't look, Kirk Cousins, he doesn't make plays when he gets blitzed. He's technically a good at making the right decision, but he's not. You're not going to throw a touchdown pass if you get a good blitz on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins isn't good unless Dalvin Cook is a legitimate threat to run 150 yards every game.
Right.
AVT fixes both of those problems, and the Vikings were weird, but it was like they were losing games just as much because they couldn't score points, not because they couldn't stop anybody.
Right,
and they were doing that even with getting good offensive stats. So let's shore this up. If this is how we're going to try and win this division, because all of a sudden that's open. Now the Vikings can come back and win this NFC North again this year. So get the best player that's ready. You got to worry about Elijah Vera Tucker's length in terms of his levers, his arm length, and how that projects the playing offensive tackle. So you start him at guard, whatever. And if he figures out, how to make the arms work for tackle, then it's just a win-win. And so Jalen Phillips, tempting, game changer. But when you have Danielle Hunter and Stephen Westerly on the 2 sides of the line, I would go with AVT. So that's why that's my pick at 14.
That's fair. I like it. I actually had Phillips, but I understand AVT a lot. He can play guard. He can play tackle. Positional flexibility there.
Yeah.
Again, you're fortifying his strength. That's kind of really more of a weakness for them. with the Vikings, and again, in their consistency to win games when games are close or they need to get into a shootout kind of principle. So I like AVT.
Bro, they even almost blew a game to Jacksonville that they were winning by 13 with a minute 50 left last year. Like it's weird the way the Vikings found ways to lose games. And I realize in that regard that it might be like very intoxicating to draft Jalen Phillips and have him just take a game over and end it.
Right.
But you never let games get to that point if you have an AVT keeping Kirk Cousins healthy and not letting him throw 9 of 23 for 80 yards. Because he had games like that last year. And you can't pay that guy that much money and not, keep him protected back there.
Absolutely.
So that was why my Libra scale, right? That's why I went with Veritas right there.
I like it. Absolutely.
Now, right. I think I know what you're going to do here, or maybe this is just where my head's at for 15, but you are now officially Bill Belichick. I don't know if you ever thought you would be Bill Belichick.
Hey, from Annapolis, Maryland. Shout out to Coach Belichick.
Annapolis is a good hometown because I forgot. Like I knew that Teixeira was from Annapolis. Like,
crab cakes and football, baby. Yes, sir. It's Maryland.
Facts. I share a border with you guys.
Right.
Where
absolutely.
I live, I drive down Route 10 to Route 1. I can get into Cecil County, Maryland in 40 minutes.
Cool.
So we also have a Royal Farms in Downingtown.
Rofo is so good.
Shout out to Maryland.
Shout out to Wawa too. Shout out to Wawa. All right. At number 15, we have the New England Patriots on the clock. I'm torn on 2 picks, but I'm going to take one that I think you may agree with. This could be a trade spot. I don't think they stay at 15 necessarily. I guess them going up or down. Mm-hmm. But I think right now, for Bill Belichick, knowing that Cam Newton isn't your end-all, be-all answer, I don't think at quarterback. You got Jonnu Smith. You got Hunter Henry in free agency tight ends. You got Nelson Aguilar. They're getting weapons for the offense.
Oh, my God. I know where you're going with this.
And for a weapon, for a quarterback, you need to give him the best possible team. So I want to take a former Bison.
That's awesome.
Trey Lance.
I can't believe we're 15. Like this lockstep right. That's such a good pick. I was thinking about that so much that like I was reading that like Bill Belichick kind of like, no, I absolutely like Trey Lance. Like, no, I would absolutely draft Trey Lance if he came to me at 15. And I was thinking about that, like, yeah, like what is Trey Lance if he's not Cam Newton with a chance to be a better passer?
Right.
So like, let's go. Yeah.
Love his story from Marshall, Minnesota. Very few offers coming out of high school. Heck of a job at North Dakota State starting for that 2019 season. 28 touchdowns, folks. 0 interceptions. Guy didn't turn the ball over. He's smart. He's tough. He's big. He's physical. He keeps his head down. He's a perfect, honestly, Patriot.
He really is. And his dad was a pro. His dad was a CFL pro.
Yes, his dad was a CFL
for a couple of years.
You're right.
So
he was in the NFL.
It's the type of dude that really you would think if him and Belichick if they get it, that's something that people would have never seen coming. Because I don't think at the beginning of this process you were talking about what if the Patriots start to really like that Trey Lance kid?
Right.
Because we were had been, and he talent-wise is right with the other 4.
He really is.
But we had been talking about him getting drafted higher. And now that like when you're getting into the nuts and bolts of it, you realize like he's not going to be a top 7 pick. The reality of like this being a possibility, I thought was like so cool. This is kind of like more and more as I break this down, I don't see the Patriots going any other way. Why else do you sign Henry, Jonnu Smith, Aguilar in the same offseason if you're not, because you really like you're getting that for Cam Newton. You're not getting those guys for Cam Newton.
Not at all.
I don't think you are. So I think that kind of reading between the tea leaves, they might have had this plan for a bit. And as long as like say Kyle Shanahan doesn't draft Trey Lance at 3, that's just a perfect pick for the Patriots.
I think Lance makes sense at 3 because you can actually stash him behind Garoppolo. Would not be a bad deal at all. Mm-hmm. Or like you said, falling to New England, going to be well coached. They're going to always be in games because they have Belichick, Josh McDaniels calling plays. They're going to be good there. So I like that a lot. And I wish the kid the best. I hope he has a fulfilling career in the league.
It's a good spot to be in behind Cam Newton because if Cam Newton likes you, then you're just learning everything you'd ever need to know about playing quarterback in the NFL. If Cam Newton doesn't like you, then he's probably going to give you the opportunity to take his job.
Even faster.
So if you're
exactly.
Trey Lance,
right.
yeah, if you're Trey Lance and I was reading a lot about him getting drafted 4th to Atlanta, how much better of a spot would this be than that for Trey Lance?
A lot. Way better spot for sure if he were to go.
I mean, God, it breaks my heart because I want to live in a world where Zach Wilson and the Jets figure it out, and we have Buffalo, New York Jets, Miami being 10-7 together and dueling it out. But I think this is just going to put the Patriots right back in that fold too. And with the 17-game seasons this year upcoming, you can hypothetically have a division where 4 teams are going 9-8, and that could be. It's
entirely possible.
I love the thought of that. So
NFC
yeah,
East.
I don't. It ain't gonna be the NFC East. The NFC East will all be 6-11.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I once again, like, this is just like the Patrick Surtain and Bama thing. God forbid that I'm actively like happy for a pick that the Patriots make, but I don't hate Bill Belichick. I'm not. It doesn't make it better that like Tom Brady's gone, and you don't want a team to just be meddling when they don't have to. So yeah, you can
and be very hateful in your heart, but I mean,
yeah, I mean, you can't. I think me and you both ascribe to you can't be a hater your whole life. It's very hard. It's very hard on you to be able to do that. So, yeah, I love the pick. Trey Lance is exactly what I would have done too. Once again, I like to see your expertise mirrors mine.
I appreciate it, bro. Hopefully, these are not all bad picks when we make them. The draft actually happens on Thursday.
Yeah. All right. Arizona, 16.
Woo.
Arizona, the most enigmatic team in the NFL.
Yes.
The most enigmatic team in the NFL. You just want to root for them. I just want to like Kyler Murray, and I do, and then he'll give you a 3-game stretch that he had from weeks 13 to 15 where you're like, what the hell is this kid looking at? Like, what is he looking at? Then you'll hear him, and he'll have awesome sound bites in his press conferences. Then he'll give you one. It's like, what is this kid thinking? And Cliff Kingsbury, you watch him call plays, and most of the time you want to like him, and it's like, what is this guy thinking? You can't do anything else with the offensive personnel. It's great. It is what it is. You don't. I was reading people say like, yo, the Cardinals should draft another wideout. Really? Like another all the money that you already have going into like D-Hop, and you have
AJ Green now.
So many threats. You still have like Andy Isabella if you want to. You don't draft a wideout here. Your defense needs help. Your defense needs help because even when you were winning games, you were finding a way to win games like 30-27, and then the defense sucked the second half of the year, and you stopped being a good football team. And so when you look at the Cardinals, it's a weird, like, it's like a 3-3-5 that they always play, sort of. Like, they always play a 3-3-5 with like a rover. So in that regard, secondary's okay. Like, it needs room for improvement, but like, it's okay. And
no more Patrick Peterson. Yeah, you're right.
Right. I mean, well, you got to be ready for it. Once again, like, Caleb Farley's back worries me to the point where I wouldn't pick him here at 16.
Okay. That's fair.
Maybe further down the board in the first round, I would, but that is a very real, like, potentially paralyzing back injuries as a 21-year-old. There's certain injuries that I talked about that, like, you could just write off and not worry about, like Zach Wilson's shoulder. I don't know about that with Caleb Farley. So then I look at linebacking core is good enough. Once again, I don't take Micah Parsons here. You need somebody to come in and just be the best at what they do. And the Cardinals had everyone run the ball down their throats last year. So I think the pick that you need to let Kyler Murray and that offense kind of start at better spots consistently, you need that big interior defensive lineman. So with the 16th pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals drafting Christian Barmore from University of Alabama.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I think so. Look, yes, I love Christian Barmore because he's a Philadelphia guy, and like I watched him like play, and he was only like a high 3, a low 4, and he got the nod at Alabama, and you didn't really expect him to just get on the field. And then for the past 2 years, it all went to him. So like, he's not that fast, right? He's not one of those he's not that like hulking of a nose tackle type player, but he's not all that fast. But like, you need somebody who knows how to play defense, and you need it to be at a central, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, like that position where it's just, hey, at least our front 3 is bringing it. And it would be between Caleb. you don't need as much help in the linebacking core. So it's between Caleb Farley and Barmore for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I took Farley, but my mock. Yeah. But I mean,
yeah. So that's who I'm looking at. And I think Caleb Farley will probably go pretty damn soon if I'm looking at the other teams that are on the board.
Yeah.
So I go Christian Barmore, and it's a different vibe than like the kind of personnel that the Cardinals sort of have. You have a lot of Pac-12 kids. You have a lot of Big 12 guys, and sort of the narrative on the Cardinals is that they like passing the ball. They like looking good. They like, they aren't tough. You need toughness. Yeah, Christian Barmore makes you tougher than any of these other picks. Save Micah Parsons makes you tough, but that's not the way that they play their defense. He'd never work.
You just took Isaiah Simmons last year, so that would not be
exactly.
No.
So yeah, I know it's sort of weird. I feel like Christian Barmore's either getting drafted in the middle of the first round or at the end of the first round.
Yes,
but I think he is a football player. You can worry about some measurables or whatnot, but his tape in terms of being in the middle of a line and not letting anything go through. Like, think of your best, like Snacks Harrison years. Think of your best.
I like that a lot.
Fletcher Cox years, right? Like Fletcher Cox is a little bit more like quick first step, but it's that same type of like, I'm getting to the quarterback too. You're not just putting me down here to play 3 technique and stand in the middle of anything. Like I'm getting in there. That they need it. So I'd like hopefully that Barmore can help prove me right that he's very much a middle of the first round talent, not an end of the first round talent.
I like the pick. I think it's different. I think I would have taken Farley, but I think we look at they do lack physicality up front, and you got J.J. Watt. You got Chandler Jones coming back from an injury. They got to fortify
who's J.J. Watt at this point of his career, man? Like who? Like I don't want to be the person throwing hot takes out there and whatnot, but like he might get you 9 sacks in the season. Like his best years are 3 years behind him. I won't accept anything to the. He's not having a 20 sack season again in the NFL. I don't know. I didn't want to just pick a fight with that, but I don't.
Right.
Like, J.J. Watt's
his body's so broken down. He's still very talented. He still gets held a lot, as I'm sure he always complains about getting held. And JJ, you do get held, bro. So I understand. But
no, JJ's cool. He's allowed to complain about that. Yeah. It happens. Like he's good people. I just like he's not
2013 to 2015 JJ Watt. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not scary. You can't expect it. Like that what he was that combination of length and first step. And you don't lose the length, but you lose it a little bit when you have the way that he had that, the leg injuries and how it then like affected his back and whatnot.
Yep.
But he's not as fast as he used to be. And so he's awesome and he'll be a great influence on a Christian Barmore, but I don't think he's who you hang your hat on that defense either. But you don't draft the edge because you do have Jones and Watt on either side of Barmore. But that all of a sudden turns it into a very formidable front 3. So
definitely. No, they play a lot. They play a lot of weird fronts. And speaking of receiver for them, I would have taken CeeDee Lamb last year over Isaiah Simmons. Get Kyler someone he knows.
Was Simmons the 14th pick last year? Oh, it was that early.
CeeDee went 17 to Dallas, as I'm sure you know.
No, don't remind me.
So I love CeeDee, man.
Right
CeeDee's
when
a
David
dog.
Terrell went 16th to the Falcons, I was well aware that CeeDee Lamb was going 17th to the Cal. Yeah. He's the man, though. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. I love him, and he's awesome. And yeah, like whatever. He's gonna break our backs for the next 10 years. It is what it is.
Right. No, it's gonna be rough.
All right. I think I know. I think I know where you're going with the Raiders here. But
okay,
I prove me right.
Let me say this. Okay, Las Vegas, number one. Your city is incredibly fun. Too much fun, but in a good way. I also want to say that your defense needs help. Really at all 3 levels. You guys can't sack the quarterback, can't stop the run, you can't cover anybody very well. So why don't we get a guy?
Especially the last 2.
Right.
Especially the last 2. Yeah. It's like you look and go, when that Patriots game happened, you're like, I don't think I've ever seen a run defense look worse. And then like the next week they allowed 600 passing yards. Like, never mind.
So I'll say this. You can't get someone that fills all those voids, right, for you. But there is a player who last season in college football, 45% of the time in 11 personnel, this team ran their base defense. For comparison, in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers were at 8% on base defense against 11 personnel, which is, if you guys don't know, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. I know it might be a nickel Sam. I know this might be a controversial pick. Las Vegas, you will be A-OK if you take J-OK. And I'm taking, for them, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker, Notre Dame, to the Raiders. Let's do it.
I mean, what he could potentially be is so awesome, right? It's so intriguing. And that's a great way of putting it like that. Like, obviously, of the players available on the defensive board, JOK is the one guy that is actually capable of helping on all 3 of those fronts.
Right, because he can rush the passer, yeah.
I love how smooth and fluid he is. Like, you can't make that up, but where are you going to put him on the consistently, like, you said it, he's kind of like a nickel Sam, like a college rover,
right. He can be your overhang defender, though. I mean, and Gus Bradley runs. I mean, look at Cam Chancellor. That could be his role.
Yeah, well, no, and you pick a player at 17 to mold into a role like that has the potential to be, put in the lab and will make this giant, freakishly like effective defensive back out of it. He looks more like a linebacker to me, and I think that was because of like the way you get your traditional Notre Dame. They're not throwing much at you. Like they just kind of had him on the outside,
covering Devontae Smith. Yep.
Yeah.
But he can push inside at backer, and
he's a little light for me to just go like he's an NFL linebacker, but he is an NFL linebacker.
Right.
And so with like everything's out there and all that they need help with, I think they need a lot of help on the offensive line too.
Right.
And I had one player that I thought you might have went O-line because we mentioned his name before in this spot. But no, I JOK, AOK. He's a little bit. I have him a little bit later just because of like he's light for his position, but it's a
twitchy,
body.
Yeah,
he's twitchy. Yeah, you can put on his frame and have him be the same player.
You really can.
So I think you might have saw something that I wasn't looking for. I think you might really be onto something here, and I'm just kind of none the wiser for it. But he's, you have Mayock and Gruden and Gus Bradley. You have 3 dudes that just want to sit in front of a chalkboard and figure it out. And so he's the guy that you kind of can play around with and figure it out. So,
you really can.
Nice. All right, I think where I'm going here because I get the Dolphins again. And
Miami
we kind of
Dolphins.
harped on this. And I was saying the best case scenario, knowing that you are going to take Jamar Chase with this 6 overall pick, but knowing the holes that you need to fill, well, the best case scenario is you do take Chase and then you have this guy waiting for you at 18. So 2 years ago, he was overshadowed by his teammate. His teammate decides to take this past year off.
I know where we're going.
Snaps. I believe it was because Russo had 15 sacks.
15 and a half last year. Yep. Two years ago. Yep.
Phillips had 11 and a half in the shortened season this year. It's the hometown kid. It is
literally
the body, like it's what you need. You put him next to Christian Wilkins. All of a sudden, it is one of the funnest, meanest, chirpiest D lines around. The kid just got done. I like his teammate. I think Greg Rousseau's success might have led to the numbers Phillips got 2 years ago, but Rousseau was the one getting coverage sacks and stuff. So I think really it was Phillips across from him making Rousseau better.
Him look better. Yeah.
I love Jalen Phillips with the 18th overall pick out of the U to stay in Miami. 18th overall pick is Jalen Phillips to the Dolphins.
Love it.
Out of the U. Yeah.
No argument there. I actually had Micah Parsons in this spot only because, like I said, Jerome Baker, he's your middle linebacker. They have a good front 4.
Has he ever found his mom in the stands? I know he's been looking for his mom for so long, right?
Just so you guys know, Jerome Baker was on NFL Mic'd Up. He couldn't find his mom during an actual fan attended season.
Was very worried and didn't find her until the 4th quarter, and then finally saw, oh, there she is, and then went back to playing the game. It's one of the best Mic'd Up things you're going to see. So sorry about that.
No, you're good. So I think, hey, Jalen Phillips, explosive off the edge. I will say this: the medical's a little scary. So just so you guys know, he was at UCLA, 5-star player, stud. But he's at UCLA. He's forced folks to medically retire because of concussions. One of which came from when I think he got hit by a bike, hit by a car. Like he got in a really bad accident.
Wasn't he on a scooter or something like
scooter,
that?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. It's
we'll
something that would happen in LA.
Right.
It was something that would happen out in like LA, but.
And we'll find the actual clip for you guys. We'll let you know in the comments what that actually is, how he got actually hurt with his concussions. But he had to retire, goes to Miami, does think he's going to play. He gets cleared to play. And as you said, in the shortened season, just took off.
13 tied for 8th in college football with sacks this year.
Amazing.
So yeah, and huge, but like functionally perfectly sized for a defensive end. 6'5", 265, but kind of plays like a little bit lighter than that. Like he looks like he's more of like a strong safety running around who just happens to be that tall freak. A kid that you really want to root for, like a kid that he wasn't sounding like a football player in terms of the concussions. He sounded like a really responsible young adult, and to just kind of get that, we're okay, we got another chance at this. And to be able to like grab the bull by the horns like that, are you kidding me? Now he's from Cali. He didn't grow up in Miami, but the way that moving to the U saved his kind of football career, I think this is just, you couldn't write this story any better. And like Brian Flores with those good linebacker, those rushing edge, like it's just Brian Flores is a U guy too.
Yes.
This is what we talked about, man. Like the Dolphins could go to the AFC Championship game this year if they end up making these picks and these picks work out. Like they are in that good of a spot, and to have Jamar Chase and then just have Jalen Phillips in a naturally great spot to draft him, don't mess it up, boys. Like
Absolutely
don't like. I hope Tua can figure it out, because like you're gonna be looking at Tua if it doesn't.
This team is ready to go. They have a nice little window available if they can get these picks right, and Tua takes the next step as a passer.
The secondary is still so slept on. Like it's so good, and it's still
Byron
so slept
Jones, Xavier Howard. I mean, they got guys. All right, moving on to the nameless team, the Washington football team, folks. My hometown team. Shout out to DC and everyone back there in the DMV area. This was tough for me. I actually went offensive lineman, and he's still on the board. Here's the thing about Washington. Morgan Moses filled in admirably at left tackle. Brandon Scherf is a stud right guard. We all know that. Hopefully he gets his nice big payday. I know he was franchise tagged. Hopefully he gets his cheddar. Secure the bag.
Secure it.
Yeah, get the bag. How right tackle is a little bit of a weak spot.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy at right tackle, I watched him play against Texas. I watched him play against Oklahoma. I watched him play in the bowl game against Miami. This guy, I think, is a really good right tackle. Very refined in his approach, technique. Pretty good pass pro. Solid run blocker. Will put dudes out of bounds. Like,
new to football too. It's so crazy how refined he is being new to the sport of football.
It's crazy. So I'm going to take from the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Pokes,
right
go
tackle.
Pokes.
Go Pokes. OSU. Really good fans, by the way. I saw them in Austin a few years ago. Great fans. I'm going to take Tevin Jenkins, right tackle, Oklahoma State, for the football team, and Dan Snyder.
Oh, Dan Snyder. What a guy.
You dog.
You dog. Yeah. Yo, I didn't know. So Dan Snyder has a son, and now like Dan Snyder's son is actually making decisions for the football team. Why didn't we make that switch 20 years ago?
Well, because they took Dwayne Haskins, and we saw that worked out. But anyway,
sorry, you're right.
Oh man,
still honestly, pulling for that kid. Different conversation for a different time. But that might still work in Pittsburgh.
I think it'll be a good spot for him to just sit and just watch Ben and how he can better fit in the league at that point. But yeah, I think Tevin Jenkins is the pick. I mean, I thought about taking quarterback, but I mean Trey Lance is gone. I don't think you take Davis Mills in the first round or Kyle Trask, right?
No, those are second-round prospects. Neither of those two quarterbacks are the next on my board anyway. So
right.
No.
Do you have Kellen Mond as your fifth or sixth?
I would have Kellen Mond as the sixth. Yeah, okay. I would have. Kyle Trask. It's a true toss-up. It's a true toss-up between Kyle Trask and Kellen Mond. But I think there's something to Kyle Trask is exactly who you draw up to be a prototypical NFL.
He really is, actually.
That's kind of pretty good. That's just can drop back and make passes. But Kellen Mond is that, hey, you might have found something nobody else saw, and he has that Russell Wilson potential, not comparable in terms of size or style, but he could. That's Kellen Mond's ceiling, whereas Kyle Trask could be a 28 touchdown, 14 pick guy for 10 years, but Kellen Mond could be a Pro Bowler. So that's why if we were to ever do a second round mock, I would put Mond like 33, Trask 34. You feel me? Like that's
okay, yeah, gotcha. I'm with you.
But I don't know, and I don't know if those picks. I don't think it translates that way either. But
right, with team needs and all that stuff. No, absolutely, man.
I love Tevin Jenkins, dude. Like
people sleep on him, man, because he's the right tackle.
It's like his tape. Like you picked Darrisaw at 13, and I love it. Right, Darrisaw was getting reps at right tackle too, not just left tackle.
He was, I know. Mm-hmm.
I like Tevin Jenkins' tape at right tackle more of the. You need somebody to go pull 20 yards to the sideline and mess somebody up on the way and stay on his feet and keep going downfield and run block. Like, yeah, he needs work at pass pro unless you're Rashawn Slater, who doesn't need work at pass pro in this offensive line class. But that's kind of the name of the game of being a first round draft pick on the offensive line. And I don't like the thought of Tevin Jenkins and Brandon Scherf and Morgan Moses blocking the hell out of our defensive linemen. Yeah, like they're going to be really, really good. The only thing I might have done differently, so I didn't have Tevin Jenkins still on the board. I had the Raiders taking him at 17.
Okay.
If Tevin Jenkins wasn't on the board, which in my mock he wasn't, I actually would have liked to see, because now you have Fitz, so you have like a 2-year window where you're going to have a productive Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Right.
You just got to keep giving him, like you're getting there with having, a good crop of targets. I would have given him Kadarius Toney at 19.
Yeah, that's a mock I saw. Yeah,
that's what I would have done if Tevin Jenkins wasn't on the board. So once again, just smart pick. Yeah, he's good, and it's good that we live in the world that has the draft machine work the way it does now, because he never would have flown up the boards the way he did, but he deserves to be higher than all the dudes he has jumped in this process.
I agree. 100% agree with that, man. It's awesome.
Dude.
All right. The Bears.
So we're in a really weird spot with this draft, because
we are.
I was looking at the Bears the same way you were looking at the football team. That, obviously a quarterback would be cool here, and they need one even more. But like at this point, I'd be okay with right now if the draft went these first 19 picks the way it did, and you don't have that offensive line depth anymore because we just drafted like the 5 best ones.
Right.
It's not like you need a wideout,
No.
You could take a wideout, I guess, but like I wouldn't go there. And so this is really tough for me. I think this is kind of one of those things where you just have to take like the best player available. Where my notes go, I'm sorry about that. I'm not trying to stall. I had something written down here, but it just kind of ran away from me. So like, I'm okay with doing this because, the guy's that good. It wouldn't make sense to draft somebody in the front 7 for the Bears.
No.
At all.
Khalil
You
Mack,
don't do that.
Hicks, you
need help on offense. You need help on offense, but all of the offense is like truly a reach unless you draft Kadarius Toney, and they don't need a wide receiver.
No, not like him. They need a big guy like a Rashad Bateman would be.
So what I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to make your day, because he survived it to this point, and like it never hurts to get secondary help when you're in a division with the 3 other teams that are in your division. Let's go Caleb Farley. Let's do it. He's there. You don't need a linebacker, so you don't draft Parsons or Collins, even though they're awesome. You don't need an edge, so you don't draft Pay or Ojulari. You don't need a running back, so you're not going to be drafting Javonte or Najee Harris or Travis Etienne.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, like that's where we're at. That's the only pick where, if you would hypothetically trade back to go for a Trask or Mond in the second round, I'm all for that. I would do that. But since we're not doing that, that's where I'm going to go. They have a good history of Virginia Tech cornerbacks playing for the Bears. So
absolutely.
Most recently with Fuller. let's do it. Like, let's do it. Let's put Caleb Farley on the Bears, and he's great. He's clearly the best player available I think in mine and your eyes at this point, depending on what your take is on Micah Parsons, and they just don't need him right there. So I'm going to go with Caleb Farley, and because we can't trade out of it. But with the draft going this way, I would have, if I was Pace, I would have traded back.
Long corner, physical, played receiver coming into Virginia Tech, moved over to cornerback. Obviously, he had the back issues, had 2 surgeries on his back, 80% chance of recovery, as said by the doctors. Hope the kid obviously stays healthy for his whole career.
Kind of like a Jalen Smith thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Jalen Phillips Jalen Phillips, even with the concussions. I mean, it's a similar mold. Like guys with injury concerns could either be falling or rising depending on how people view them.
I think Jalen Phillips might have made the league at like the perfect time with the position-specific helmets, and just if this was even 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been as likely. But yeah, with Caleb Farley. So, and we talked all about this earlier in the pod, back injuries. Like, the 2 things you don't want in life as a human being are chronic back injuries or chronic breathing problems, because of the way they just affect every aspect of your life. Right. Imagine that affecting your play on the football field. But I will say, if he didn't have those back problems, he projects to probably between Surtain and Orn. So, yeah, like you're getting a steal. You're getting a steal. And like, if the offense sucks again this year, like it did last year, like it's okay to have Foles try it again for another year, because you ain't there. Like you weren't going to, even if you won that playoff game against the Saints, you're clearly now, your window didn't work. This window that they had, they're not in it anymore. So get the guy that could be, your lockdown corner for the next 12 years, in comparison to everything else that's out there. I'm okay with my pick of Caleb Farley, even though I don't think it's ideal for any of the teams involved at this point. And
they have long corners. I mean, if you get Caleb Farley, you see there, Jalen Johnson out of Utah last year, really good rookie season.
He really did come along. Yeah,
he did well. I mean, he played really well. Didn't get a lot of picks, but he was in position a lot of times to make plays on the ball.
It never hurts to have a lot of horses in the stable at cornerback, because you lose cornerbacks so frequently over
nickel,
the
whole nine.
NFL.
Absolutely.
They get hurt the most. It's the easiest to scheme around them. You just have to have a bunch of them. Like, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. We play 16 defensive backs over the course of a season. So I know how important it is to get a good defensive back.
Right. I hear you, man.
Shout out to Caleb Farley. I'm sorry that it took you this long to get drafted, but I'm glad I was able to draft you.
Hokey high, baby. Let's get it. All right. At my favorite number, Savage, 21.
Yee!
Your boy, now the quarterback. Walk it to him, Carson Wentz, Indianapolis right now. The Colts have the 21st pick, and I know they can go offensive line. They lost Anthony Costanzo. I don't see any guys at this spot worth taking. Maybe a Sam Cosmi. I don't know if he's ready. I mean, you have Dylan Redunz over at North Dakota State.
Creed Humphrey,
center, but like, I mean, I don't know.
I guess you don't. Well, you don't need guard or tackle help as much,
Right. Quentin Nelson's a stud. He can do a lot of roles, and he's one of the best guards in the game, if not the best guard in the game. So I'm actually going to go back to the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
And we're going to have a little run on corners here, because I think playing that cover 2 scheme that Matt Eberflus does so well, I think Greg Newsome is a perfect fit in this system.
I love Greg Newsome.
I'm a fan of his. Now, and I'll say this, as someone who coaches DBs in high school, guys, just because you don't get picks does not mean you can't play the ball very well. Sometimes your job as a defensive back is to knock the ball down. You saw Kevin King in the conference championship game. He tried to go up there and think he was Deion Sanders, and the ball went over his head for a touchdown twice, as we saw.
I feel bad. Like, I hadn't seen Kevin King play a bad game, and then I saw him play. Then I saw him play the worst game a cornerback has played in the past 20 years. Like, that was so stark.
Turning his head at the wrong time, not finding the ball.
It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady does it to you, but still.
But the coverage was just awful. Scotty Miller at the end of the first half. I mean, you can't have that as a 4-year corner, 3-year corner who went to UW. And I know UW, they put out guys. Marcus Peters, Byron Murphy. They put out dogs. No pun intended.
Dude, so the Packers drafted Kevin King the first pick of the second round when they drafted him, and the Eagles had the 4th pick, and so we ended up drafting Sidney Jones. And I was just crying when Kevin King got picked. The other Washington one, I liked King's game better, and then obviously it translated better up until the last game he's played most recently.
Right.
Great pick with Greg Newsome. Like he does like, it makes sense that he was on that scrappy, fighting Reese Davis's Northwestern Wildcat squad, because the dude's going in and he's big enough to play corner, but he's not that big of a guy. And he's going in there just popping dudes, lowering the helmet, decleating guys. He recovered, I think, 4 fumbles last year.
Yeah, 4 fumble
he's
recoveries.
A ball hawk.
Yes.
The dude is at the football. And the Colts, like,
they have Rock Yassin, but they don't really have
average defense. But you have Darius Leonard, like they have that.
DeForest Buckner, yep.
You have the culture of like fine ball. So yeah, like that. He's clearly, his ceiling is not as high as Caleb Farley's.
No,
but his floor is much higher. You plop Greg Newsome in as a starting cornerback day one.
I think him and Surtain might be the most fluid corners in this draft. Just fluid, hips, eyes, technique, finding the ball, reading routes. He can play man or zone. Obviously, he has some injury concerns, as everyone does in this draft. It feels like,
yeah, it does. Well, it's just the way we're talking about it. Like, I think if you have a quarantine, you have more time to pay attention to yourself. And you're like, oh, I have been playing with a torn labrum. Okay, I guess people got to know about it now. I don't know.
Right.
I feel like that has something to do with it too. Tennessee Titans.
Tighten up, baby.
Let's talk about this, because me and you, we were the two outsiders. We move into the state of Tennessee.
Yep.
The Tennessee Titans were the Tennessee Oilers for 2 years of my childhood.
They were.
Like, it was a team that I was like, do they have an identity? And then I moved to Tennessee and realized, oh, fuck yeah, they have an identity. The Titans fan base is really awesome. Like, we're friends with people that we went to college with.
Oh yeah.
But the way that my friends down there who know about the Titans, the way that they would talk about Art Smith as their O coordinator last year, all the stuff they would have to say about Vrabel, the way that they loved like the Taylor Lewan and the boys thing, the way that they loved Corey Davis and AJ Brown and the Wolf wideout. It's a cool culture that the Tennessee Titans have going there.
They have built a really good culture.
They're a team that does have a decent amount of holes, but they don't have any glaring holes, and that's why they kind of always are. In my like maybe you disagree with me on that, but like they're gonna even.
They're always at 9-10 wins, playoffs. Yeah, they're always right there.
It's your first year with Trevor Lawrence, right? Houston is just I feel so bad. But
we don't need to talk about
dumpster fire, right? And then Indianapolis, who knows what Carson Wentz is going to bring? So it's like it's probably their division again. And so when I look at the Titans, it's like, if Taylor Lewan isn't healthy, then you do have a depth problem at offensive line, but you don't need to draft on that. We just kind of went through the 2 best cornerbacks that we could have drafted, which would have been one of the other needs. But I think they do need help on the outside of that defensive line.
Okay.
And it's a cool team and it's a cool fan base. And so I am going to draft one of the coolest players that I think is in this draft class, one of the most interesting people, Zaven Collins, linebacker from the University of Tulsa.
Oh,
I am in love with this dude's game. He literally was the salutatorian for his grad class at Tulsa. At Tulsa, the
Golden
best
Hurricane.
Football player, the best football player for the Golden Hurricane was the second best student in his grad class for the University of Tulsa. The guy is like unreal. He puts a smile on your face listening to him in interviews. Then he puts the fear of God in you watching him play football. And the craziest thing is like he projects to be more of like a 3-4 rushing edge linebacker DN combo. If he wanted to play strong safety, he'd be a top 5 strong safety in the NFL. It's an interesting mold. It's an interesting body. And in terms of what he likes to do best, but the man wreaks havoc and he's so fun to watch. And so if anything, even if this might kind of be a luxury pick in the scheme of the Tennessee Titans, it's the best pick. So I'm going with Zaven Collins.
I love it, man. He was awesome at Tulsa. Watched him a bunch down here because I'm here in Texas.
Yeah.
Love Zaven Collins. Big kid, 6'5", plays at 270.
Yeah.
Great frame.
Like,
he's an old school linebacker. And then you know that the head coach is Mike
runs
Vrabel.
A 4.5.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then when you see that Mike Vrabel is the head coach and he was an old school linebacker, this pick makes so much sense. I love Zaven Collins. I wish I actually had him going to the Browns, but Tennessee, I mean, Jadeveon Clowney kind of was not what we thought he was going to be there in in Tennessee. But now you get Zaven Collins. Woo. Let me ask this question. If you were a Vegas betting man and your over-under was 22.5 for Zaven Collins, does he go over or under that selection?
I'm going to stick with my pick here. I'm going to stick with like the way I bet. I bet on wanting to have my money like prove where my mouth is. I want to put money on what I want to be proven right on.
Right.
I think Zaven Collins is a top 16 talent in this draft.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The way he is, it makes it hard to project him to some of these teams that need much more help in other spots.
Right.
If he's on the board at 22, I think I don't see who else the Titans would draft, especially if the draft goes the way it has in our mock.
Right.
I'll take the under. I'll take the under on Zaven Collins.
I like it.
Okay. There was one point where I would have been ecstatic if the Eagles drafted him at 12, and then it's just the way it progressed. You know, it's J.C. Horn. Turns out that like he's going to be that guy, and we need
a down corner. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so Zaven Collins 22. So I picked for the Jets at 2. Yeah. Now you get to pick for the Jets at the Jordan year 23.
Oh, 23. All right. So the Jets took Zach Wilson, obviously number 2 overall. Robert Saleh is a defensive coach. 4-3, cover 3 principles. You know, you got Quentin Williams there. You know, you still need some help in the secondary. So corner would not be a bad idea. But do I love Asante Samuel Jr. that much to take him this early? No.
Yeah.
Eric Stokes from Georgia. He's an interesting one. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I haven't seen as much of his tape per se. But I think it's still too high for
his NFL.com Scouts Inc. score is so much higher than I would have thought. Which they know shit that they know stuff that we don't. So that's what it is about Stokes, where it's like the scouts are going. It's not the coaches, it's the scouts, and that's something that we haven't really got into. But there's players that scouts like, and there's players that coaches like.
Right.
He's a player that the scouts really like.
For sure. No.
I don't know what that means for him, but I know that that's where it is for him. But I wouldn't take him here. I don't know if you are, but I wouldn't take him here.
I'm not taking him here.
Okay.
You talk about stories. This gentleman, his mother came over from Liberia.
Oh, good pick.
In a crazy, there's an ESPN article. I'll link it in the podcast channel notes here when we're all said and done. But this gentleman, late bloomer from the East Coast, goes to Michigan, only has 11.5 sacks in 4 years, but he shows incremental development each and every year. I'm going to go with my guy, edge rusher, Kwity Paye, to the New York Jets at pick number 23.
It's crazy that he's still here. It's crazy, but
it
makes sense. It makes sense the way it went for me, but it's crazy that he was still here.
He's a stud.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have Pittsburgh now, I'm so jealous. And I know who I think you should take, but man, I'm really excited about Kwity Paye. Again, very raw, still needs to be refined in a lot of areas, but 4.5, 2 off the edge. Sign me up.
And he just lost 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he was playing at high 270s.
Yeah.
But now he's at 261.
Yeah.
So that's that. You like that when you have instincts to just get your hand in the ground and be nose tackle. But no, coach has me down at 261, so I'm gonna go stand up and play 3-4 rushing. Let's go. Yeah, that's what you draft late in an early 20s pick. Exactly. Just like why I drafted Zaven Collins. You can take a guy and now mold him in a whole bunch of different directions, and whatever way you go, it helps the squad.
And we know Saleh coached, obviously Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, Armstead. Solomon Thomas. He knows how to work with, D linemen. Right. So I think Kwity Paye is a great pick there, great value pick, and hopefully has a great career.
All right, so we are 24. So now we're officially, I guess, the last quarter of the first round.
Yep.
It's been a fun ride. I've been having a blast doing this.
It's been a lot of fun.
We do it in 3 hours, so I know the content's going to be phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pardon my language, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, what the fuck? What was last year? What was last year, dude?
Tale of two seasons.
It was the what was it? The Wednesday afternoon football game against the football team, and then it all went downhill from there. And it was a little bit of like a Fugazi 11-0. I think any football fan that watches that, you might have felt it, but they did win those 11 games, right?
Yeah.
So now you're in this weird spot where it's like, is Roethlisberger going to stay retired? Is he going to come back? What does it matter? You need to draft a new quarterback, but I can't do a trade back here, and it's not like Kyle Trask or Kellen Mond could just hop into Pittsburgh day one. Maybe Kyle Trask could, but you don't take Trask at 24 here. I just don't do it.
No.
So then I look back and go, it's not the defensive side of the football. The offensive side of the football is what needs help, because they were playing this weird style of Ben drops back and just doesn't have any time, so he throws the football. So what you have to me is, originally I go, okay, like the offensive line is the biggest concern. But then I remember that like they don't have James Conner anymore, and all you have is Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels. I think that's the two. And then you have
the two main guys. Yep.
Watt is a fullback. So, I think they lost Villanueva too. So with me, what this comes down to is it's really a coin flip between, do you draft an offensive lineman here or do you draft a running back here? And as much as I like in Alex Leatherwood, I think it would work to like fill in for Villanueva. Like, that ain't the Pittsburgh style offense. He's not good enough at pass pro to whoever their young quarterback's going to be. If it's Josh Dobbs again, shout out to Josh Dobbs, because he's back. Yes, so he wouldn't be good enough. And I think what you need is something to get the Steelers, because the Steelers aren't going to be as good this year as they were last year. So you need somebody to draft to like get excited about. So I think you go the running back route here, but I'm not drafting Najee Harris. There's a lot to Najee Harris that I go, it's just the byproduct of being a running back for the Alabama Crimson Tide. You're either Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry, or you're Eddie Lacy and Trent Richardson. And he's not either, but he's somewhere in between, so you don't draft him here. So who I like the most, who I think translates the best to the NFL, of the three big running backs, the one who has the least mileage on his tires and the lowest body to the ground, I love Travis Etienne. He ain't it for me. I love Najee Harris. He ain't it for me. With the 24th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers are drafting Javonte Williams, running back, North Carolina. I know that it's so the coaches love Javonte Williams. The scouts are split on him. I just see a running back that he just doesn't go down, and he's just as good as catching passes as he's undersized to hit the hole, but he does it better than all these other guys. And you just need a running back that's actually like good. Like James Conner would get stats, but like he wasn't good. He doesn't pick the right I don't like James Conner as a run. I'm sorry. I know that I'm going to catch flack for that. He wasn't good. He's just like Jordan Howard. When Jordan Howard was on the Bears, they would get numbers by the law of
volume.
Numbers.
Yeah, just volume.
But so Javonte Williams has the chance to be the running back that sticks around. Travis Etienne has 5 years of college football miles on his tires. I love the guy. He's going to be a great pro. You need this running back to play for your team for 7 or 8 years. That's hard to get. And I think Javonte Williams projects the best for that. He's also like, he's tougher than those two guys. And they asked more of him at North Carolina than
they did.
So I'm going with him because the Steelers are going to need him. And he's the one guy that has that dog in him that the city of Pittsburgh would love, but that you actually might get Mike Tomlin going, well, fuck, dude, like I'm giving this dude the ball now. Like he gets the ball on every play now. So that's why that's a tough pick. I know that there's people might question that and whatnot. I'm over the line of thought that you can't draft a running back in the first round. That's wrong. Running backs are still important. And are important as first round talents. You just have to find the right one. You just have to gauge who's going to give you more than a 5-year career. Right. And once you find that, there are plenty of running backs that are good enough to get drafted in the first round. So that's my pick. I know it's probably not what a lot of people are looking at, but the Steelers need a lot of help in a lot of weird ways, and you don't want to take a pick that doesn't give you any help. Javonte Williams makes a bad spot a lot better, period, without any worries. It's just how high is the ceiling. So that's
right. No, I hear you, man. I would go Najee at this pick. That's why I had my mock. But I'll say this with Najee. Najee to me is a Steeler through and through because his story, being from the Bay Area, coming to Alabama, waiting behind a whole bunch of running backs, as you know, Alabama does everything really well. To me, I kind of see a lot of just that Le'Veon Bell kind of patience, the cutting ability in him. He can jump over fools, as we've seen against Notre Dame and a whole bunch of teams. I hear you on Javonte.
I don't think. I would just have to say I totally disagree with you there. I do not see that type of shiftiness. Le'Veon Bell is a once in a lifetime And I know that you're not comping him directly to Le'Veon Bell, but
right.
I don't see that running style in Najee Harris. Like, it's patient, but it's not patient to slash and juke to death. It's just patient to wait for a block to get there and then hit the block for 5 or 6 yards. But that's not a running back you draft in the first round.
Right, but I think he does have some slash to him. In watching Bama's offense and how he ran the ball. I mean, again, no one's Le'Veon Bell. That guy waits for 3 days to for a hole to open up. But I mean, Najee to me, I just watched. I mean, maybe it was the Auburn game that got me sold on him. But like that Auburn game, he was making cuts, hitting holes.
I'll say this: like I've never watched an Alabama game and gone, "Oh, dude, Najee Harris really disappointed me today."
Right.
But like some of the plays that I saw Javonte Williams pull out of his rear end. I'm just saying, like, you never need to do that when you're on Alabama that has Mac Jones.
Yeah, right, exactly. And Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle.
We don't know if Najee Harris can do it, and so I've seen that prototypically good Alabama running back before, and like you want that style of runner to like look like Alvin Kamara, and Najee Harris looks more like. I don't know, like a well-rounded, like a Melvin Gordon style running back that is like a 90 at everything, like on the Madden board. But I don't ever see it being like, hey, the going gets tough, Pittsburgh. You guys got to hand it to Najee Harris on every play, and he'll ultimately get us down the field. I don't think he's that guy. And so all I'm saying is like I'd be totally willing to be proven wrong on that. We need to do a little side action on that over here.
Fair enough.
Hey, have Najee prove me wrong. It is what it is. But I would not be happy if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers and we took the name pick. We took the name pick for a running back. That is more of a name pick. Because clearly, like the Steelers are trying to. They want a great running back again.
They're taking a running back. I think for sure.
They miss Le'Veon Bell. They've had horrible running back play. Sorry. I just look at James Conner's PFF number. It's bad. So it's just like he gets numbers, but the efficiency of it, especially last year, was bad. Just get a good running back again, and then maybe it'll make whoever's playing quarterback's life a little bit easier.
No,
that's Absolutely. That. And like I guess I could stand to be proven wrong on Najee Harris. And if that's the case, then that's why I'm not a pro. So.
No, fair enough, man.
Back to Duval, baby.
Duval, and this actually comes from the Jalen Ramsey trade.
Wow, I just saw that. I just looked back, and I'm looking at that right now. How about that?
Jalen Ramsey, obviously stud for the Rams right now, but the Jacksonville Jaguars at pick 25. They have holes, but it's not as crazy as you would think, right? I mean, for me, like you're getting Trevor Lawrence in the fold. You know, you got the Chenaults, you got DJ Chark, you got James Robinson, Keelan Cole, Colin Johnson at receiver. They have good weapons.
Yeah.
On the outside. The defense, you got K'Lavon Chaisson. You took Josh Allen a few years ago from Kentucky, the D end.
Who finally kind of really got back on it last year.
He got back on track. Yeah. He did, finally. You got CJ Henderson from Florida last year.
Yeah.
You're really well set up. I think that this gentleman right here, same birthday as me, Gary Patterson, might be one of the most overlooked defensive coaches in the country, college football-wise. You got your Sabins, you got Jim Heacock at Iowa State. You know, he's right there with those guys. That 4.25 gives everyone problems. They don't run a lot of stuff out of it, but they just know how to stop you. And for me, for my money, Trayvon Merrick is the best safety in this draft class. And I know he's not really a free safety. He's not Earl Thomas, right?
Right.
But I think he can patrol the field. He can come up and hit you. Not a great tackler, but he will put his body on the line. I like Trayvon Merrick here at 25 to Duval County and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm taking him, my boy from TCU. Go Frogs.
So Trayvon Merrick was a guy who I've learned a lot about recently, and he's that perfect, like, you never forgot that Sean Taylor was on the football field. And in the Big 12, it would comp down that way.
Right.
But, like, you couldn't play a game against TCU and forget that Trayvon Merrick was out there.
Not at all.
He would do something to always remind you that he's out there. And so, like, we talked about this. Like, the Jags might be the most well put together 1-15 team in NFL history. And they lucked into James Robinson becoming a stud. First off, James Robinson, I love you. You made me. I lost in 3 championships last year, but I made 3 championships, and it was because I picked him up in week 2 in all those leagues. So shout out to James Robinson. This is just a statement pick. This is kind of like, hey, like you guys all see we're getting better. Now let's get a pick to just get what we want and just to get us plus across the board. This is what I mentioned with like the Titans drafting Zaven Collins. Who knows what the hell Carson Wentz is going to do in Indianapolis? I wish well for the guy, but I don't like the guy. You know what I mean? And so who knows? If it works out, it's going to work out, but who knows? And then Houston, it's not going to work out. Right. Jacksonville could win this division. They could win the division.
Or make the playoffs. Yeah. Right.
Or make the playoffs, but who cares about that when you can actually get the division dub?
Right.
This pick is a pick that says, hey, we're not worried about solidifying our rebuild. Like, we got Urban. Like, we're here. We're drafting the big bopper. Don't throw it deep on us. Don't try and think you can beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. You ain't coming into Duval like that. Fucking tell them. That's the like mentality behind drafting Merrick. I really like the pick, and it only works to a team that kind of would be in that spot. Right. Because there are holes to Trayvon Merrick's game. Like he's not gonna. You can't slide him down in the box and then have him just get off and be with a slot receiver. All the time. That won't work for him all the time. But
he's not Tyrann Mathieu. No, that's not going to happen. But he can.
Yeah, I love Tyrann Mathieu so much, man. That's a story. We talk about stories and stuff. I can't say enough good things about that too.
Honey Badger baby
for life. We have probably showed a lot of LSU love so far in this podcast, so we don't need to keep doing that. Yeah, but yeah, that's
way too much.
What is your birthday, by the way? What is your birthday?
February 13th, right before Valentine's Day.
Oh, fellow Aquarius.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. January 24th. So
nice.
For those listening, hook us up over here. So I got to remember that. The greats, 213. Yep. Heard. Are we good on that? Trayvon Merrick goes to Jags.
All right. Wait, who did you have in your mock? Who would you have taken if he wasn't there?
Actually, so I think you would really like this. I had Caleb Farley if he went down this far because I saw him slipping. If he didn't go down that far, I was looking at Azeez Ojulari.
Okay.
But you don't really need the edge. But I just think like it's a SEC guy in SEC country
fortifying his strength. I mean,
you just you're making Caleb on Chason. I wasn't that high on him in last year's draft, just the cycle, and I couldn't have been more wrong about somebody because that was like his first game. You had red zone, and it's funny because the Jags won their first game, then lost their next 15.
Yeah, lost 15.
but he was making plays, and they were calling his name from like the first quarter of the first game. So I'm happy for him too.
Absolutely.
So I'm just excited about the Jags now, man. I think this is cool. A world where a team can go from 1-15 to 10-7, 11-6. Who knows? All right. What a world it is that the Cleveland Browns are the 26th pick.
Hasn't happened since what? 1900s?
In reality, at least the 80s. Like probably the early 80s, right?
Yeah.
I think you, me, and the rest of the American public are probably shocked that this name is still on the board. And I ultimately think, with the concerns of the red flags, this part of the first round is the most accurate representation of what he could do in the pros. But if his ceiling is as high as most scouts to think it is, this is the biggest steal of all time to fill probably the one position of need that the Browns still have. I can't believe he lasted this long, and the city of Cleveland should be doing backflips all across Cuyahoga County. Micah Parsons is the 26th overall pick to the Cleveland Browns.
I love it.
You have all the help you'd ever need on the front four. It looks great. It's where it needs to be. The offense, like there were moments last year where it's like who's better than the Browns, especially that Titans win and
it blew them out
with your two running backs when you have Chubb and Hunt. Right, your offensive line's already great.
Jedrick Wills, Conklin.
If you wanted to add another wideout, like I guess, but the one spot that you kind of still are like, who do they have? Because I don't think Collins is there anymore. So Micah Parsons has to, like, of all the dudes that you could still draft, you don't need really help anywhere else except for that middle level of the defense. And like Jamin Davis is awesome.
Yeah,
but he ain't nowhere near as good as Micah Parsons is. So going to like what me and you touched on earlier, what I'm worried about with Micah Parsons is His best year statistically was his sophomore season, true sophomore year. He plays 12 games and gets 109 tackles. So to a football-crazed fan base that is going to talk up their best players, a linebacker running around getting 9 tackles a game is like the best thing under the sun. But they didn't ask him to do the bulk of the defensive play calling. It was just something that he showed a propensity towards, but he is a better linebacker as a chaser than he is as a coverage linebacker. So what I say, when you give me that classic last year example of Patrick Queen versus Kenneth Murray's bigger. He can read and react better, but he can't think through the plays better. So sometimes he ends up just completely on the backside of a run play. He's a chaser. Patrick Queen, not as big or as strong, much smarter, going to put himself in the right position. He's a reader. We are talking about Micah Parsons like he is a great reading middle linebacker, a la a Luke Kuechly and Patrick Willis. And that's not where he is yet. And he took last year off. So he's played a year and a half of college football. He had a great season as a true sophomore. We haven't gotten to see him play as a junior. And he has a frame that might be a little too big for that NFL middle linebacker spot. So there's stuff that it's not a sure thing. I'm kind of disappointed in everybody else talking about it like it is a sure thing. So I'm glad that our draft kind of showed the fact that this is a possibility. And it's good that this is a possibility, that people aren't just name testing dudes that they've had in their head for 2 years and drafting them. He doesn't deserve to be a top 10 pick. He does deserve to get scooped up at 26. And so I guess if you're the Browns, how do you say no? Yeah.
If they got Micah Parsons at 26, they would be doing backflips for sure.
Yeah. Like literally, I guess the Cuyahoga River might be, in the 50s. People are jumping into that river. And that's the same river that caught on fire. So, but here's the then thing. Like, what are Cleveland's Super Bowl odds in comparison to the other teams in the NFL? If they were to get Micah Parsons at 26, they'd have top 5 Super
Top 5 odds. Yep, I agree.
So
Kansas City, Buffalo, them.
What a world
Baltimore.
we're living in.
Yeah.
What a world we're living in that regard. But if you're okay with that, I think we just did justice to the guy, even though I kind of dumped on him in the process. Micah Parsons at 26.
No, I think it's a good pick. I think for him, letting him just play. The Browns will let him just do that because they have the Garretts, they have now Clowney, they have Ogunjobi, Denzel Ward. They're going to get Grant Delpit back.
Barry Ogunjobi is one of the most underrated impact dudes on the football field.
He's a stud
of the last 5 years. Yeah,
he's an absolute stud. So you put Parsons in there. It's not his team. It's Garrett's defense. He's going to listen to those vets. Kevin Stefanski did a great job in year 1 with that team.
Yeah,
I love the pick. They got to get better on defense. You get a twitchy linebacker that could force turnovers against rush to the quarterback.
Yeah,
no brainer.
I don't want to see it happen even, but I guess I'm pulling for Cleveland if they can pull that off. That's the heist of the century. It's just, but it should go that way. There's not a spot that a team wouldn't be reaching in the wrong direction in those first 25 picks if they were to draft Micah Parsons. I think that's the reality of it.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I want that to happen. And then what if I'm wrong about just the technical aspects of Micah Parsons' linebacker ability? If I am, then the dude's Dick Butkus. You know what I mean? And Dick Butkus with a chip on his shoulder because he fell 20 spots. So,
right.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty scary, man. All right. To my Maryland
Back
folks.
to your other hometown.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The DMV, Baltimore Ravens on the clock. Pick number 27. Okay, now Baltimore. You have Lamar Jackson. He's dynamic. He can throw the football. We know this. Playoff games have been a little bit of a struggle. We get that. Tennessee, Buffalo last year, the Chargers 3 years ago now. The defense is great. Now, they might fill a hole, but we'll get to that at 31 probably. But the defense is, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, you guys are all studs. Offensively, Hollywood Brown coming into his own, okay? Devin Duvernay.
He really is. Yeah.
Devin Duvernay, Texas boy, hook 'em horns. Really good first year. We'll get him some more touches. J.K. Dobbins. We know what he brings to the table. Gus Edwards, also a stud, okay? Hey, Mark Andrews, in my opinion, top 3 tight end in the league. I think you have Kelsey, Kittle, whoever you want to put at 1. But I think Andrews is top 3, maybe 4 if you want to put Waller there. But I think he's top 4 at worst. Tight end wise. It's
because of Lamar, right? Because they kind of like the way that they flow and can read and react mid play. That's
Yeah.
why he is, but he is a top 4 tight end.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, with this 27th pick, the Baltimore Ravens, in my opinion, should be selecting Rashad Bateman,
Good
wide
pick.
receiver, Minnesota. This kid averaged 20 yards a catch in 2019. He comes from a great pedigree in terms of being from Georgia, 4-star kid, stayed at Minnesota. Coach Fleck's doing a great job out there. They're in Minneapolis, in the cities.
Shout out to PJ Fleck. Row the boat.
Row the boat,
baby.
Sky Umag, go Gophers, baby. I love his game. I mean, this guy, big receiver, can get in and out of cuts. He can catch jump balls. He's got great hands. I think he's going to be one of the steals of this draft. And I think it's because he's going to be going to a team, hopefully, in Baltimore that loves guys that just work hard. And he's a hard worker. Put his head down, make catches. You know, he doesn't need the ball that much. And it's good because Baltimore's a running football team. But as Lamar gets confidence more and more, I love Rashad Bateman.
Well, no, they need a wide receiver like Rashad Bateman to continue to add to the dimensions of what Lamar Jackson and the offense is. Like, for what it's worth, Lamar Jackson has to be good enough now to be able to find Bateman as a target in his passing game. I think that's where we're at with that.
Right.
It's not like you're now furthering, we make life that much easier for Lamar Jackson. Like, it ain't that anymore. Like, Lamar is the quarterback of the team, so now it's just this is the best target to add to the offense, not this makes Lamar Jackson's job easier. Because like either Lamar's figured out passing downfield consistently or not, but he's still going to get you 11 wins every year as a starting quarterback.
That's his floor. That's his floor.
Yeah.
So
it is. I agree. Like, it ain't going to be any worse than it is now.
Unless he gets hurt.
Unless he gets hurt, or unless 6 years down the road, if the
defense
quick
takes a step back,
ain't quite as quick. But
or the defense takes a step back. But I agree.
Yes. But I love Rashad Bateman. So where Zach Wilson is like a brash level of bravado that just is cockiness. I think Rashad Bateman is just quite not cocky, but just that perfect brand of, like, you listen to that guy in an interview, you ain't gonna tell him anything. No. Like, it's his way or the highway. He's got the professional blood. Dudes that come out of Minnesota, like
Antoine Winfield Jr. We saw him.
Yeah,
hey, Tyreek Hill.
Think about Ty Conklin even. Like, you get dudes that like play at Minnesota, and it's like, wow, they're still making it work in the league. He's awesome. He's tough. He's kind of small. Who cares? Like, I mean, I think Bateman, like, he might have hit 6'1" in his measurable, but he ain't playing like that. But whatever. He's awesome. There's another wideout that I like just as much, but for this pick, that's who I have to in my mock.
Yeah. Awesome.
Speaking of wideouts that we like in the late 20th round.
Who dat said they gonna beat them Saints?
So that's the one time I think that as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, we got outclassed in terms of being the loud football fans. I haven't ever gotten held down in any other stadium. Like, we have always won the cheering battle as road fans. Chicago, LA, Miami, Detroit, but New Orleans, they mentally got in our heads. And I was at a game in New Orleans, and the Eagles lost by 40. So I have nothing. That game. I have nothing but respect for the Who Dat Nation, man. I love them. I love New Orleans as a city, and I think they deserve a player that they can get excited about for, like, homegrown reasons. But from Bossier City, Louisiana,
the
28th pick for the New Orleans Saints, Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver. I have a man crush on Jamar Chase. I was telling people how awesome Jamar Chase was 2 years ago, and then I watched a game where Joe Burrow threw 4 touchdown passes to Terrace Marshall Jr., and I'm like, why am I not paying more attention to this guy?
Right.
The fun part about Marshall is, like, he does want to be in the slot, but his body and athletic build are of a true X. Like, he's
6'3", 210, runs a 4.38. Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's awesome. And then he's like, nah, man, remember Justin Jefferson? Like, I like that. Like, throw me in the slot. And the Saints are the one team where, like, oh, dude, that's awesome, because we have a 6'5" guy who kind of wants to be in the slot, but we make him stand outside. And then we have another guy who's like 5'9", but if you're in between them, oh, it's perfect. And so Taysom Hill needs it. the Saints defense is fine. Like you can maybe cherry pick parts of their defense that they would need to address, but it's like, I think the targets are the big deal. Not even for anything, because it doesn't make that big of a splash, but like Josh Hill caught 8 touchdown passes at the tight end spot last year. He's not on the Saints anymore. Right. So you need that big body. Terrace Marshall could even do a little hybrid tight end stuff if he wanted to, but he's a deep threat from the slot position who was playing an hour down the road. Don't overthink this at all, New Orleans. Draft Terrace Marshall.
I like that pick. The medical checks out in the kid. I know he had some bad results this past week of what happened on the medical, but no, he's legit. He played it against, again, a great system, but he still had great numbers with the chases, with the Jeffersons.
Yeah, so I actually have him. I have him in front of me right here. It is shocking consistency the 2 years that he did play. So he comes in, he gets some snaps his true freshman year, whatever. As a sophomore, so year 1 with Burrow, it's 46 catches for 671, which is 14.6 a catch and 13 touchdowns. Then in 2020, when they go get the, I guess it was the 2019 season. Anyway, so last year it's 48 catches. So he had 46 in 2019, 48 in 2020, 671 yards. He goes up to 731. That's 15.2 yards a catch. And instead of 13 touchdowns, he only has 10, but he has a couple of 75-yard gains. The dude is just Mr. Consistent. For you to draft somebody and go, Terrace, like, I'm going to get you 7 targets, catch 5 of them, get us 70 yards and a touchdown. The way those numbers add up for a wideout over the course of the year, it's awesome. I think he projects to be a great pro. Medical concerns are there, and they're real. And if they weren't real, he would be much higher than 28.
I would agree. Yep.
So that's 100%. Why I'm okay with picking him at 28.
No, I agree. I think he's a stud. I think it's a great value pick there for the Saints. Reloading after the Breeze era, and it's going to be Taysom Hill or even Jameis Winston. Get him some weapons. Let him go to town.
Yeah.
All right. Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packer fans.
Tundra.
The frozen tundra. Here we come to the Packers. This is a really interesting one to think about. Aaron Rodgers, MVP last year, great season. In my opinion, Devontae Adams is the best wide receiver in football. He dominates every part of the field. He can't be covered. He's incredibly quick. He can catch jump balls. I know Tyreek Hill's nice. I know Julio Jones is nice when Julio's healthy, even though it's not very often.
Right.
Devontae Adams is a dog. Hopkins, Nuke, DeAndre, you are also a stud.
It's a weird spot where Nuke's at right now.
Yeah.
Like it going into the second year with Murray, and like, is it just a product of them only throwing to him or not? But I agree. Hopkins has to be part of the top.
Hopkins is definitely top 3. Yeah, absolutely. With that being said,
I like that Devontae take. Pound for pound, definitely. Pound for pound. Definitely.
I would say he's the best receiver in the league. With that being said about receivers, the Packers have never drafted a first-round wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. Last year, they took a guy named Jordan Love, who plays quarterback. Ironically, Aaron Rodgers' position. Folks, what that means is I don't know who really goes here, because I was going to mock them, Terrace Marshall, but you just obviously took him at the Saints. And I totally get that. Great pick.
Hate to see it. Yeah.
You hate to see it, but hey, that's the reality.
That's football, baby.
It really is. Here's my thing. Offensive line is a need. But they're moving Elton Jenkins over to center from guard. Bakhtiari's coming back. Do you take an interior lineman? Because there's no Vera Tucker. You could take Creed Humphrey here, which I'm not opposed to doing. Who is the Packers?
I actually, because Alex Leatherwood was playing most of his time at right tackle, that he hypothetically projects to being like starting at right guard right away.
Right.
But once again, that's a changing the mechanics move. And he's not a traditional inside guy. I do like Creed Humphrey. I think he's going to be a guard in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a first round talent. His tape is good enough.
It is. His tape's really good.
But it's the system is what makes you look so good when you're an offensive lineman for Oklahoma.
Right.
So I'm still skeptical on both of those guys. I don't know if I give you what I'm going to go with here, but I would probably go. It would either be Cosme or Leatherwood or Humphrey for me.
Okay.
And I just think and they're all 3 big school guys. So you're basically looking at Are we leaving Aaron Rodgers after this year, or are we giving Aaron Rodgers 4 more years and not going to Jordan Love?
Right.
Go to Jordan Love after next year. I would draft Creed Humphrey because of how like his mobility is better than the other two guys. If not, I would go with Cosme or Leatherwood. That's my
right. Well, my thought though is with the Packers. I mean, who's their right tackle right now? Who's their current right tackle?
Their right tackle is currently undrafted free agent who played in Denver last year, Billy Turner.
Turner had a pretty good year. Had a pretty good year. Oof! Look at this board.
I guess that helps clarify things for me, like in that regard. When then you look at the 4 other names on the O line and you see that, because I did have, if I show you my mock, I had Leatherwood here. That's who I would have drafted, and I think that kind of clarifies it. It never hurts to just draft a good offensive lineman when you have one good quarterback and you think you might have another.
Right. Oof.
This is tough. We don't want to piss off. I like Packers fans. You know what I mean? They don't deserve this. They don't deserve to just F up their draft 2 years in a row, you know?
Not at all. Here's what I'm going to do, because I understand that Devontae still needs to get a contract restructure, whether it's this year or next. Aaron is in limbo for obvious reasons, but hopefully he can stay around for a couple more years with Green Bay specifically, because Packer fans, Aaron Rodgers may be one of the greatest throwers of the football we've ever seen, period. Period. Maybe number one.
Right
Him,
now,
Mahomes.
Right now, he is the most talented quarterback to have ever played NFL football. You need 5 more years of what Mahomes doing before you get to that conversation. People don't realize that. They don't want to admit that, but that's the truth.
That's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
With that being said, and the fact that DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown did so well as Ole Miss receivers.
I love that pick. I love what you're going to do.
With the 29th with the 29th selection in the NFL draft, the Green Bay Packers will select Elijah Moore, wide receiver, Ole Miss, go Rebs.
I think Elijah Moore, the first guy that you can officially safe to say he's a dog. And I'm not just talking about the end zone celebration, dude. Elijah Moore is a dog.
I love him, man.
He's awesome. He's awesome, and like
lightning quick.
He's the perfect guy for Lane Kiffin to coach, to be like, yo, man, like you're swaggy as hell. Go deep every play. Just go deep every play.
Imagine him on jet sweeps, faking it and giving it to your Dylan, or faking it and having Devontae go deep, or have him come out of that route and just run a little sort of wheel route. Oh my gosh!
I would have never gone that direction. I think you were approaching this with a much more I can zig and zag and think outside of the box, and me, I'm just like, I don't want to let my fans down. I want to make the right pick for the year. But I like Elijah Moore. I haven't seen many picks having him go in the first round, and I kind of don't understand that.
Right. He's a late first.
It's the NFL.
This is a perfect spot.
It's the NFL. If you know there's parts of the game that your wideout doesn't do well, you don't not take them. You just scheme a way that it doesn't get maximized. And so, like, yeah, like he can't run block. Okay, like he's not that good at sitting down in his zone. Fine, you can make it okay.
Right.
So I actually, dude, like Aaron Rodgers to Elijah Moore, like that's hey, let's put our foot on their throats now type of combo.
Hey, 2 Bible names too, Aaron to Elijah.
They love that up in Wisconsin too. I feel like you could probably be all over the biblical puns with that.
Oh man,
I like that, man. That's good. That's a good pick. Okay,
thanks, bro.
30, Buffalo Bills.
No one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills.
And shout out to Chris Berman. I think a lot of us do stuff like this because where other people found Chris Berman annoying, I just love the guy. So no one does. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. It's weird. Like the Bills are in a weird spot.
They are.
They're clearly the second best team in the AFC, but they are the second best team by a lot, meaning the gap between them and the Chiefs is huge. The gap between them and everybody else under them is huge. I think it is. I don't think the Ravens are. I don't think they're in that same cloud.
Really?
That the Bills are. No. No, I think like that. Like we're seeing the direction that it's going to go in. Like I don't think you're going to get a 13-3 Ravens year again. Not anything to do with Lamar, but just who all else is on that roster. I don't think it's not the same core that you had through the mid 2010s that kept them good that whole time. No, I will say, when we might disagree on that, yeah, I think the Bills are still ascending, whereas the Ravens might just be there. But
And I can see what you mean by that statement, but talent-wise, I think Baltimore's more talented.
The Bills' defense isn't talented enough, but it's functionally
they're well coached,
great enough, well coached defense.
Yes,
so
Sean McDermott,
if you were to watch the Bills in that AFC Championship game
to
the Chiefs last year, you would think they need to fix their defense. They need to fix their defense. There's something missing on the defense. But the problem is, you look at the depth chart and everything's really accounted for, and at least for the next 2 years. You could say that the edge is a concern because Jerry Hughes, he's playing his best football, but he's an older guy.
He is.
And so how long is that going to stay? So in that regard, if you were to say that's the biggest problem with the Buffalo Bills, then I would say you draft Azeez Ojulari. But when I watch the Buffalo Bills, the most glaring weakness to me is that neither Devin Singletary nor Zach Moss can get you a first down when you need a first down. Like, it ain't good. Like, it's not like I love Motor. I think he's he's a really awesome guy. I love his interviews. He's not an every down back. His numbers have shown that he's been effective when he plays, but not that good. Like, just not, pardon me, not that good is unfair, but not that effective. He is not a game changing,
not transcendent.
Well, not nowhere close to transcendent, but just not really good enough for what they needed out of him, which is unfair, but it's just the truth. And then Zach Moss is kind of that Jordan Howard ilk that, like, yeah, you're thick and they give you the ball near the goal line, so you'll get some short yardage touchdown, but he's just objectively not a good short yardage runner. Like, he just wouldn't get you those short yards in times of need. And that showed itself a lot in the playoff stretch, that the Bills were just limping out to 3 and outs, getting to a 3rd and 3, and not able to run the ball for a first down. So I think the Bills' lack of a power running game is their biggest problem. All right. I like Travis Etienne as an NFL running back more than Najee Harris. But as we talked about, Travis Etienne has legitimately played like 5 years of college football already. I think he has 5 years in front of him at best. Najee Harris is a much more powerful back. He will be better than both Devin Singletary and Zach Moss right now, right away. So with the 30th overall pick, I have the Buffalo Bills drafting Najee Harris. Didn't want to do the disrespect to him when I drafted Javonte Williams at 24. I just think this is better for both of them, and this is a more accurate representation of the true running back talent. The Bills just need – Najee Harris is 6'3", 230. Devin Singletary is 5'8", 180, and Zach Moss is 5'9", 200. You need that guy as your running back. He's only going to help Josh Allen. So Najee
for sure. Yeah. And if Najee has a chip on his shoulder after what you did to him, moving him to 30, oh my gosh.
I mean, that's like, maybe it's a little too low. Right?
No,
I like the guy. I just think Javonte Williams is better than him.
But the perceived slights in his head. And that kid has had a great story.
Yeah.
And see where he's come from.
He's sat forever. That's the best part about it. Is
not a lot of wear and tear. So he's
not a lot of wear and tear. Yeah, not a lot of wear and tear and a lot of experience.
And he's a 3 down back. He can catch, he can block, he can obviously run really well.
It really nips all of the Bills' offensive problems in the bud, and it allows this great thing you have going with your Diggs, Beasley, Gabe Davis route combo.
Right.
Like, it just makes that go better. So as awesome as Azeez Ojulari and as much of a game changer as he would be in that spot, right? You need to be able to get a short yardage first down. You can't just have Josh Allen quarterback sneak, especially when you're like 3 yards away, because you can't get Josh Allen hurt. He's one of the best players in football.
Yeah.
I just, there's no other direction to go considering all of that than Najee Harris.
I love it. I like it, man. That's an awesome pick. At 31, we're back on the board. Just so you guys know, the Kansas City Chiefs traded their 31st selection for left tackle now, Orlando Brown of the Ravens, along with a couple other, 3rd round, 5th round, things like that. They did get a 2nd rounder back from Baltimore, but this pick belongs to the Baltimore Ravens. And this gentleman has slid far enough. And you mentioned him to Buffalo a second ago.
Yeah.
He has been a terror to our Tennessee Vols the last few years. But I must say,
but who hasn't?
Who hasn't? Well, like I said, Jamin Davis, you killed 10. You know what I'm saying? So,
dude, Jamin Davis, I got nightmares about that game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Garantano, let's not even talk about it. All right, but with the 31st overall selection, Charm City, the Baltimore Ravens, will select Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher, University of Georgia. Go Dogs.
I had him going 32 if you didn't take him here at 31. Like
I'm sure you did.
he has to get drafted in the first round. Right. I was kind of explaining through why it wouldn't be with Buffalo, but he is a first round talent. And this is just another one of those things where it's just like, there's so many other people that you're looking at. That's why Azeez Ojulari gets down to 31.
Right.
The dude's a top 20 player.
He's
a top 20 player.
And then listen, Baltimore, you lost Matthew Judon to the Patriots. You lost Yannick Ngakoue to the Raiders. You got to help your edge rushers out. You get one of the really good edges next to Patrick Queen. That defense is already solidified with Humphrey, Peters, Chuck Clark, Deshaun Elliott. They're ready to go. So you plug him into that Martindale system, 3-4, look out. That's scary.
That's kind of the rich get richer. And so I think I understand why if the Ravens were to draft Rashad Bateman and Azeez Ojulari, you would look at me and go, how would you say that the Bills are ascending more than the Ravens? But there are holes on the defense. Like they do need a player like Azeez Ojulari.
They need an edge. They
really do. Yeah. I didn't foresee that Ravens game, the Bills game, pardon me, like the Ravens versus Bills in the second round, like going the way it did.
Not
the way
at all.
that they kind of like beat them up and bullied them when they played them 2 years ago, and then no pressure, and it was just kind of Josh Allen like, oh, here's Cole Beasley, here's Stephon Diggs, I want this, there's that. Not all the time in the world, but plenty of time to just go through my progressions and get it out there. That's not a Baltimore Ravens defense that I'm familiar with. But
here's the about that Baltimore defense. As bad as they maybe played in that game, they gave up 10 points. I mean, Lamar threw a pick six. Tucker misses 2 field goals. And that's 13 points right there. It's a 14-point game. So
this is the thing that we'll keep coming back to about like who is the second best
Baltimore
team in the AFC? Is it Baltimore or Buffalo? And like
that's actually a really good trivia question.
Who are you with? Are you with Chris here? Are you with Terrence here? Like where are we going? Like put the poll up. Who's going to be the second best team in the AFC?
No, it's gonna be a heck of a season as it always is because it's the NFL.
All right, last one. Ready to wrap it on up?
Absolutely, folks. We have come to the last pick of the first round of this mock draft. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you all so much.
I'm excited to go back and
the honors. Oh man, I'm so stoked. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's been mine. This has been a blast. We just use the expression "the rich get richer," right? And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were tailor-made to win that Super Bowl last year. And the worst part is that everybody kind of said, "Hey, it might take a while for them to get there, but they're still going to get there." And because it took them so long to get there, that's why people felt comfortable writing off the Bucs. For those in the know, you watch the first round of the playoffs and you could tell that Tom Brady was going to do his Tom Brady thing, right? Now he's convincing everybody to take pay cuts. So there's not even no hole. It's just that everybody that they have last year, they have back this year.
They're running it back, literally.
I was thinking about maybe looking in the offensive line, but then they were able to re-sign Ali Marpet. And I think there was one other acquisition that they made. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that. So at this point, man, like everything's great. And the one spot where you're looking at, you might need a refresh age-wise is the edge. It's like Shaq Barrett's going to be there. All right. But he doesn't always play like hand in the ground edge. A lot of times they have
correct. He does not
linebacker.
No.
Like he's like truly a linebacker. JPP, he's still JPP. He had an awesome year, but like, can we count on that for 4 more years? Let's take an edge rusher and let's take a guy that is the very opposite of what his college teammate was. So when I mentioned Micah Parsons, I said had a fan base that looked at the numbers and, it imposed those numbers to a narrative of what a player was that he wasn't. So he had a teammate that I can't believe this is possible, generated 46 quarterback pressures last year and didn't get a sack. I tell you right now, that doesn't matter. When you get on a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with that coaching staff, they want you to still pressure the ball that much. The skill is truly there. He had plenty of sacks his first 2 years. Give me Jason Owe, edge rusher out of Penn State University. He is a specimen. He's a body that you want to look at to be your go-to guy on the edge, and it's just like it's the last pick of the first round for a team that just won the Super Bowl. You're allowed to take a flyer. I think he's the highest ceiling flyer you could possibly take, and the only reason he would have fallen down this far is because he didn't get a sack last year, and it doesn't seem to worry anybody. And I like his tape; it doesn't really worry me either. So that seems like a good pick for me, and I think that's a good pick to end it. I think my Penn State friends probably were pretty upset at me until right now. So Jason Owe, 32, and the Bucs are probably going to go 14-2 this year, or 14-3.
We are Penn State. Great pick. Again, folks, no sacks last season, but this guy is disruptive. He can set an edge. He can chase the ball down. He can project behind, as you mentioned, JPP, Shaq Barrett, two of the best that are doing it as a combo in the league.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles is one of the best in the business at calling defensive structures. This team doesn't need anything else. And now you give them a luxury pick who can come in and learn, and then in year 2-3, just maybe get you 7 to 10 sacks a season. Sign me up.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of Tampa, like, you're not allowed to complain with whoever the Bucs is drafting this pick anyway. Like you're just not. Like it's gonna be a nice luxury pick, and they'll probably work out. Like, whatever. So if there's a bunch of people in Tampa, they're like, I can't believe are we really going to draft the edge with no sacks? Yeah, do it. It'll prove right. When you guys go 17-0 and Jason Owe has 20 sacks, yeah, it'll be pretty awesome.
And Josh Rosen is playing quarterback in 5 years for the Buffalo, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You know what? Man. I mean, honestly, can we talk about him real quick? That dude got screwed. I don't think I can think of any other person that got put in hey, we don't like the way this guy operates, so we're just going to ruin his career camp quicker than Josh Rosen did. And that's so unfair. Like I think that dude really did have the brain to be an NFL quarterback. He might not have had the arm talent, but nobody gave him a chance, and I don't like that.
No, I hear you, man.
I like our draft. This looks like a really good pro mock, man. Looks like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, we did a good job. So, folks, scoring at home, we're going to basically view the mock as, did we get the player right, the positioning group right, and where they got picked right? So maybe there is a trade, and there will be trades, I'm sure, come draft night. But we just want to kind of see how we do on this first fixture. I'm sure we'll do this again for the NBA mock draft here in a few months in July. So very excited about that.
I would love to hop on one of those with you.
That'd be sick. That'd be super sick, man.
I'm down.
Ladies and gentlemen, for you tuning in to the Tabooh's Tidbits podcast, welcome. We have a lot of fun here. We're going to have guests like Chris on the show again. We're going to have talks about sports, entertainment, music, mental health. People on here sharing their stories about what they've been through in life.
You should hit me back up for that last one. I'd love to hop and talk to you about that.
Most definitely. Thank you guys again for tuning in to Tabooh's Tidbits. We'll be coming at you soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks with more content. I'll be doing live stream videos on Instagram, hopefully with Chris during the NFL draft. Seeing what actually happens come Thursday night. These young men are fulfilling a lifelong dream of being since they were playing Pee Wee football at 5 years old, and now they're going to be going to the NFL as multimillionaires and also as established young adults. And I'm really proud of these guys for doing that. There's a lot of injuries, question marks that are all through this draft in all 7 rounds. But for these young men that are going to be hearing their names called in round 1.
And JC Horn, if you want to know the best places to visit around the city, you want me to start you off with a nice little pub crawl, come visit me in Downingtown. I'll show you the whole area. We'll get you nice and comfortable in Philadelphia. You're probably going to be making $4 million here in a year and a couple of days. So if you want to be friends, I'm not too far.
JC, you got a recommendation from my buddy Chris here on that. Thank you all for tuning in. Chris, my brother, so good to see you. It's been literally 10, 12 years in the making. Tennessee's finest journalism student since Peyton Manning. Got to throw that in there.
Hey, well, first off, that means a lot. This was all born from T-Boone and I having a first year studies seminar where we had to read a book report, and we were like the 2 kids from the north with a room full of 30 Tennesseans, and me and him are just slicing through Southern kids, calling them out on their closed-mindedness and BS, and realized right away okay, we're tight. Then like a month later, I remember we ran into each other down at the IHOP in PCT.
Yep. Oh,
and
absolutely.
Francis and Nick were with us, and we just stood there and had an hour-long Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin argument, like four people in public. And so I missed that part of that chapter of my life more than I could ever put into words. I kind of feel like sometimes when I don't not getting to be that guy, it hurts a little bit. And so just even right now, having been able to sit down with you for these 3 hours, it just feels right again, man. So please, if the invite's open, I'd love to get invited back into Tabooh's Tidbits because
absolutely, man.
You got a friend and a partner in CEO and a VFL, man. Once of all, always of all,
hey,
all for life.
GBO, go Vols, man.
GBO, VFL. Those are two hashtags we live by around here. I'm 6'10" till I die, but I fly 865.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. Again, many more episodes on the way. If you can, please like, comment, subscribe. Give us your opinions on who you think your team's going to pick. Cowboy fans, I know you're out there. You got Patrick Surtain the second. He's going to be a stud. Use him properly. Jerry Jones, don't trade up, please.
Yeah.
You need a corner. You need defense.
Steelers fans, prove me right. Tell me I'm onto something here with this Javonte.
Hey, and then Najee.
Javonte Williams, prove me right. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen, North Carolina next year. Hey, Sam Howell next season.
How the hell did you do this to me? I had to pick for the Cowboys and the Steelers. Like, bro, like for Philadelphia.
Oh, I'm a Bengals fan, so I definitely can't stay at Pittsburgh. Respect them, obviously, but
I get that. This is good. I think we did a good job having to, help the enemy. It's a rough world where I give Dallas Patrick Surtain instead of us. But.
Alrighty. All right, guys. That's it for tonight's episode of Tabooh's Tidbits, Episode 1, 2021 NFL Mock Draft. Thank you guys for tuning in. Much love, peace, love, and bear hugs, and I'm out.